Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your host, TB Scouting MMA, and
The Guru back again, live from the T-Mobile Arena. You've got your welterweight title up for grabs. Leon Rocky Edwards is defending his belt versus Colby Chaos Covington. And we've got Alexandre Pantoja defending his flyweight title versus Brandon Raw Dog Royval in your rematch from 2 years ago. But before we can get into this pay-per-view of the year contender, we've got an unbelievable guest in the building. If you're a fan of the show, you absolutely recognize him. If you're a fan of MMA Twitter, you better recognize him. If you somehow don't, you must not be making a lot of money. We've got James Blissett, lucrative MMA betting in the building. Once again, what is up, my brother? Good to see you. Glad we could get together on the time slot.
What's up, brother? You just cut out at the final moment for me, so I don't know what you said. You said something about a time slot, but you've introduced me well, man. So I'm happy to be here. Last card of the year, and it is the last card of the year, which is a big card for us content creators, people who talk about fights, because we ain't got no fights for another 3-4 weeks, right? So I appreciate you having me in for a big show, because it's the end of the year show is always a big show. And thank you for that. And so I'm going to make sure I come with the heat today. I'm going to give some good reads. I'm going to give some bets out. And I've been saying it all week, so maybe I'm going to shoot myself in the foot if I end up having a bad card. But I'm putting my balls on the line a little bit because I feel like I'm seeing this card perfectly. I think I've got a lot of very solid reads on this card. Maybe not about who's going to win the fight outright, but I'm pretty sure I know where the value spots are for 90% of the card. So I think it's going to be a fun breakdown today, boys. Let's get it.
oh man, that sounds fantastic to me, James. Pleasure to have you. I love your upgraded setup. Each time you keep on stacking it up and looking, the production value gets better and better. Appreciate the work you put in this game. Third party tracked forever. We out here are amateur gamblers, but professional, avid MMA lovers who just love breaking stuff down. James is the man you pay when you want to get picks. So really appreciate the content you put out there and all the hard work you do. And before we can get into what we like doing best, I'm going to have to ask a favor from the people in the chat. You guys are awesome. Please, if you haven't done so already, throw a like on the video. It helps us more than you could imagine. And hey, we already passed the 500 club. Now let's get us to 1,000. Please subscribe to the channel. It's always free content. We have a great time. We bring on the best guests because we're always learning, and you should be too. We shouldn't be the only place you come for your analysis, but we hope you stop here every week because we bring something not everyone else does. We all get a chance to bounce things off each other and have a conversation. So without further ado, let's say hello to some of the fantastic friends in the chat here. Lou Betcha, appreciate you. We will keep it rolling. Season 4 coming up. Make sure you guys follow MMA Engine. Daz, always a great supporter of everyone in the community, a really great dude. Same thing goes to Ghost. He puts out great long form content, breaking down great video analysis. If you need the depths of what, details of the striking, grappling, this is the guy to follow on YouTube and Twitter. And Pink Freud, another great follower of the show, always has kind things to say. So what you people really came here for, now that all the love is out of the air, this is where it gets spicy. We got Leon Rocky Edwards versus Colby Chaos Covington. Talk about Triple C. Whoo, we got Colby Chaos Covington. Isn't that interesting? But yeah, listen, they get their real nicknames. They earned it. They're fighting for the title. TB's going to concede here. We got Rocky Edwards, 3-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage, and has the thing on his side where he's never been finished inside of the octagon or in his career. Colby Covington can't quite say the same. He's also going to be 3 years older in this matchup. And if you get where I'm leaning, I'm going towards the guy in his prime, the current title holder. He will land the calf kicks, the body kicks, the head kicks, ultimately hurting Colby Covington, using the elbows in the clinch, using the knees in the clinch, if it does get in tight and he can't use his long-range weapons. And quite frankly, I see him using his offensive wrestling to his own success as well if he doesn't finish Colby, early in the fight. As this fight goes on, I think both guys have great cardio, and Edwards, I mean, he's shown to use a volume wrestling approach when it makes sense to him. if he doesn't like the pace of Colby, what better than to just put the guy on his back when Edwards is the bigger guy? So personally, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rocky use his wrestling, but I know a lot out there would be and think that Colby has the clearest of advantages in the wrestling and the pace department. I might be going a little bit, different than the normal approach here, but my pick is Rocky. He's the favorite, -166. I bet it at -150, and I think he's good up to -200. I'm not saying he should be like a dead spot guaranteed winner, but I think he wins this 2 out of 3 times. I really do. He's in his prime. He's the bigger guy. He's been more active, which is completely shocking when you're talking about Leon Edwards. But when was the last time Colby fought? And why hasn't he fought? Because he was fighting a court case against Jorge Masvidal about getting assaulted in the street. Tells me all I need to know. I got Leon, the more active guy here. Go ahead, Guru. What do you got?
Honestly, I've been vacillating back and forth on this fight all week. I still, yeah. I mean,
Sean White just made it back from the subs, bro.
But they're gonna shred the gnar real quick. But honestly, I've been back and forth on this fight all week. Colby Chaos Covington. I mean, you mentioned the pace statistics, but I mean, it's just they leap off the page in terms of strikes per minute, in terms of takedowns per minute, or even takedowns attempted. It's problematic. And when you watch Colby fight, I mean, he's just absolutely relentless, and you haven't necessarily seen somebody come relentlessly towards Leon in that way. I mean, he's got 2 fights back to back with Kamaru Usman where they're but it's a much more stationary pace. It's a much slower pace. Nate Diaz, same idea, slower pace. Rafael dos Anjos, much smaller guy, not in the wrong weight class. Bilal Muhammad fight, didn't really get to see that one play out, but I think it's safe to say that Bilal has made major improvements since that fight himself 2 years ago. So I'd love to see that one run back again. I come back and forth, but ultimately I think a lot of what TB said makes sense. I'd be shocked to see, like, in my mind, like I'm like thinking like, oh, narrative wise, like, yeah, it would be shocking to see Leon out wrestle Colby, but then you're like, well, maybe not. Who holds down Kamaru Usman? And he held him down in round 1. Like, especially when we get to rewatch that Chimaev fight with Usman, it's like completely eye-opening in that sense. So I gotta go with Leon. Maybe it's time for the Colby train to be done. Maybe he's just a gatekeeper now. But I mean, how funny and apropos would it be for Colby to win the title and then Donald Trump get elected next year? Like the whole of America spiraling downhill. But that's a conversation for a different day. James, can you get us back on track here?
It's a good fight, man. It's a really good fight, and it's one that's been in the firing line for a long time. Years ago, I was looking forward to Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards, but obviously they were both gunning for Usman. They both got their shots against Usman. They both fought Usman twice, so that took a long time to play out. But now they're finally fighting each other, and obviously the market's heading favorably into Leon Edwards' favor. I don't have a strong read on this fight. I'm not going to plant my flag either side because I do think it's a close fight. I think it's a competitive fight. I give more finishing upside on the side of Leon Edwards, as I think most people would. He's got the head kick. He seems to have a big advantage on the feet. Colby Covington has been hurt many times in his last few fights. He got dropped badly by George Masvidal. He got finished by Usman, and he got dropped by Usman in the other fight as well. So he's been hurt a lot recently in his last few fights, and then also he's getting older and older. So the durability is just going to go lower and lower, right? So I do think Leon had a bit more of finishing upside, which obviously, is a bonus in a 5-round fight especially. But, man, I can see this fight go a multitude of ways. You could see Colby Covington getting the takedowns. But I do think something that a lot of Colby Covington backers are maybe overlooking in this fight is how much of a physical freak Kamaru Usman is. Because I've heard a few people that are backing Colby this week saying, Usman was able to get the takedowns, control him clearly on the cage. Colby's going to be able to do the same. But I think that Usman was able to do that because of his sheer physicality in the cage. He's a big stature when he's fighting across the octagon. It's very hard to kind of establish your own range. I think it's a lot harder to do that on Usman than it is against Colby Covington. Colby Covington relies on pace and output as opposed to power, physicality and strength, right? And that's a big difference. You can easily get confused between the two and just think they're very similar. They're just pace wrestlers, but they actually do things completely differently. So I feel like Usman is actually a harder matchup for Edwards in a way. And I think we saw that in the first 2 fights. In the third fight, it did seem that Usman was coming in very shot. And also he was having a lot of troubles with certain injuries, and that's why a lot of people were betting Edwards late in that spot. I guess I'm trying to give different aspects of the fight, but me personally, I don't have a strong take. I'm going to go with Leon Edwards. I think he's got the momentum coming into this fight. I think championship mindset is a very real thing in MMA, and I believe that beating Usman twice, one by knockout and then one by a decision, is going to do a lot for his mental. And obviously, Colby's just been inactive for a long time. But the same way I'm saying that championship mentality is very important, and we're going to get to this even more in the next fight, something else is very important, which is very important in MMA, is how hungry you are and how determined you are and your motivation levels. And once you win the title, your motivation levels, they're never going to get higher, right? Your motivation levels after winning the title are not going to rise, because the only thing people want to do in MMA is win a title. So oftentimes you see the motivation drop off ever so slightly. And that's why titles are very rarely defended multiple times. Usually they change hands very quickly within 1 or 2 fights, as we've seen in basically every division ever. So Colby hasn't won the title yet. So he's going to be gunning for that. He might be more motivated than Leon Edwards. And Leon Edwards is already talking about other fights after Colby Covington. Colby ain't talking about other fights after Edwards, right? So there is that added intangible that we have to add in. And I'm just trying to give my information and my thoughts about the fight overall, so the viewers can maybe make their decisions a little bit more informatively. But overall, I'm going to stick with Leon Edwards. I don't necessarily think that he's worth a play at chalk. And honestly, it's funny because if Leon Edwards hits minus 200, I probably would take and I don't think he will, but just saying, if he does, I probably will play Colby Covington. But I'm gonna pick Leon Edwards to get the decision win.
Yeah, I think everything that you said makes a ton of sense, and I love all the different overarching points that you touch on. Love what's going on in the chat as well. Super appreciate that. TB and I were going back and forth before we went live, basically kind of saying that Leon Edwards just kind of finish in general, particularly the sub, would be live to get there, especially if in the later rounds, as Colby possibly is starting to wear a little bit more damage. One of the things that I had highlighted in when I was talking about Colby, it was the pace. But what you guys so aptly put context to is the fact that Colby is not doing damage. There is no real finishing equity on the Colby side. I was talking about betting fight goes the distance. It's minus 175 on DraftKings. I'm like, that's not really good enough for me. I kind of wanted a little juicier. But as it is, it's like only 63%. He's like, TB's like, well, why isn't it minus 300 or minus 400? And then it's like, well, because of Leon. Leon actually does have a legitimate finishing upside here. And I don't think that should be understated. So it really kept me off of the overs as well. And I just kind of, at this moment, lean towards Leon Edwards' money line, or even like just a stab on the finish.
Yeah, I have 50 on the money line outright at minus 150. That'll probably be one of my larger unit sizes of the night. Also, I'll be looking into what the submission prop is versus the finish prop. I might even layer it, do it a little lightly on both of them, potentially. But ultimately, I think the body work that Edwards has and Colby has shown to be kind of open to damage to the body and having it slow down his world-renowned cardio. And Edwards is his striking is much better than Colby's striking, then Colby's wrestling is better than Leon's wrestling. That's the way I would put it. If you were to give slider attributes to the two of them. So that's why I got Leon here at the 2-1. It would be up to minus 200. I think there's value. So
don't forget how Colby looked in the first 2 rounds in the second Usman fight after the layoff. I mean, how could I?
Yeah.
Was there live, baby.
Nice.
Let's go.
And then Trump's charity's already. Okay, so here's my Trump argument before we move on as we go completely off the rails. So wouldn't it be so funny if Colby has been talking all this time about how Trump loves him, how he's Trump's biggest whatever, but then Trump doesn't even really recognize he exists sometimes. And then what if the time Trump finally shows up for his fight day, like Colby just gets absolutely finished in front of him? It would just be funny.
He showed up, but he showed up to his fights before, not for nothing.
He showed up, or did he just call him and talk to him after?
No, he's showed up before.
Which one?
Wasn't it?
No.
Masvidal one?
Did he?
He was there for the Masvidal one.
Was he there?
Yeah.
I feel like,
but he likes Masvidal more than Colby. That's the funny thing.
That's actually possible.
He actually said Jorge was his favorite fighter.
That's funny.
Maybe he's bad luck. He might be bad luck, and now he's here again.
I'm just saying.
Really
so, all right, conspiracy spirit. Over. Let's take off the tinfoil hats. We're on to the cannibal, Alexandre Pantoja versus Raw Dog, Brandon Royval. Great nicknames. They didn't need TB to do anything for them, so hats off to them for that. But listen, Pantoja, this is a rematch. This is fight number 2 for these guys. On the way up, on his way to claiming the belt here, Pantoja takes out Raw Dog. First round, pretty competitive, solidly so. But at the same time, like Pantoja's pace and pressure is just on another level, right? And then in the second round, just when it's like, ooh, is Pantoja slowing down a little bit? He gets that back take and just absolutely seals the deal. And then my thing is like, we've seen Pantoja kind of slow down a little bit in a lot of fights. That doesn't mean he's ever been finished or actually stopped throwing volume. It's just if you can out-technical him, if you can beat him to the punch, and if you're a better counter striker and wrestler, then you'll have a chance. Brandon Royval has been controlled and dominated wrestling all the way back to LFA and all the way up to like the Bontarine fight where he does well, but I mean, the dude's getting controlled for a long period. Pantoja here is a much better grappler. And like we've seen, Royval, he's going to have some fun in the scrambles. He's going to be super annoying. He's going to push you to the limit. I don't think it's enough against Pantoja here. And Minna coming up with some great ideas today because my idea was not submission this time, but Alexandre Pantoja by knockout. Royval gets dropped almost every fight. And, Pantoja's smart enough to not get submitted when he goes into the world of Brandon Royval. I think he knocks this guy out this time. I like Royval a lot as a fighter and a person, but I got Pantoja here. Guru cracking one open. I'm going to take a sip of my wine. What do you got on this matchup, my man?
What an unbelievable fight. Is it just me or does it feel like much longer than just 2 years ago that they fought? I mean, it's kind of crazy.
It feels a lot longer.
It does, and it's only been 2 fights since for Alexandre Pantoja, with somehow 3 fights for Royval when he feels like the less active one.
Okay, hold on, wait. Quick counterpoint. Pantoja did weigh in as the backup one time for a title fight. So it's not like...
So did Royval.
Ooh, spicy. Okay, all right. Also, Pantoja knockout plus 400, submissions plus 100.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've learned, I think, from doing the show and just really watching MMA over and over here is that unless the rematch is Ankalaev and Kudalaba, it's really, really rare that it's going to happen the exact same way again. And I'm really thinking that that's exactly one of the reasons why I don't necessarily think that Pantoja finds the submission this time around. Brandon Royval has continued to make improvements with Mark Montoya, showed a great grit versus Matt Schnell and versus Matthias Nicolau. The problem with the Nicolau fight is you're getting Nicolau is somebody that's been finished in round 1 multiple times by knockout. So when you catch that guy by knockout, overextending on a jab with a knee, it's like, that's awesome, bro. You're savage, $50K, you deserve it. But I don't know that you're doing that versus Pantoja. Pantoja has kind of proven to be unkillable. While at the same time, like Minna said, she said Royval gets dropped almost every fight. You know who else gets dropped almost every fight? Mr. Alexandre Pantoja. Yeah, he dropped Brandon Moreno, but Pantoja is getting dropped by Manel Kopp. He's getting dropped by Matt Schnell. He's getting dropped. He got wobbled by Brandon Moreno, not dropped in that fight. So his chin, it's not like if he got knocked out, it would be the absolutely positively most surprising thing. He's an absolute brawler, chaos, crazy person, and he leaves his chin up there. And he got cracked by Brandon Moreno. It's a problem. So that is the volatility of this fight. I just don't think that you're going to out chaos Pantoja. I think he's kind of proven that. And the fact that Pantoja's already submitted him by rear naked choke, like he's already proven to be the better Brazilian jiu-jitsu player. Like, I don't think Royval's like one of those more opportunistic guys that wants to grab an omoplata. He wants to grab a knee bar or a leg lock. Like, Pantoja's not giving that up. And when Brandon Royval does that, he puts himself in worse positions versus a guy like Pantoja who's going to be really patient on the ground until he gets what he wants. So pick his Pantoja. Under 3.5 is a great parlay piece. Yeah. What do you think, James?
It's a great fight. This is my favorite fight on the card. I love flyweight. It's my favorite weight class. And that's just because of the scrambles. That's just because of how clean these guys' technique is. You know, the lighter you are, the better technique you can have. And the faster the scrambles are, the faster the pace is, just everything, man. These guys basically never gas out. If you gas out a flyweight, you're like a laughing stock in MMA, you know, where if you gas out at like other weights, it's like, okay, I kind of understand. Even though these heavyweights, they're still a laughing stock if they gas out. It's understandable. So that's why I love flyweight, man. This is going to be an absolute banger. I can't wait for this fight. And you are right. You know, oftentimes rematches don't go the same way. And I don't think this fight's going to go the same way. I actually don't think the person who won the last fight is going to win this fight. I'm calling an upset. I'm thinking Brandon Royval's got what it takes to beat Alejandro Pantoja here. Now, it's not one of the lines on the card where I'm like, I can't see why you would lay chalk on the favorite, because I can see why you would lay chalk on Pantoja. He's already won up against him. And there's multiple ways you can look at this fight, which is what makes MMA capping and speaking about MMA so exciting, is that you can watch the same fight, watch the same fighters, and come up with like completely different angles and both be valid, because we don't know how it's going to play out till they get in there. And that's why we always say, like, if the fighters fight 100 times, the fight's going to go differently every single time, right? So that's why you can have opposing opinions be valid. And I think two ways of looking at this fight is, on the one hand, you know, when we look at the first fight, it seems like Brandon Royval was working Pantoja bad. Pantoja was heavy breathing. He was looking badly gassed out. And he caught the back and he got a submission. But it looked like if he didn't get that submission, he was in some trouble, right? Or you can say, well, Pantoja looks like that in almost every fight, but he still keeps on fighting. But we wouldn't really be confident in saying that if we didn't see his 5-round fight against Brandon Moreno, in my opinion. He showed something in that fight that we've not really seen before in his career, which was, first of all, going 5 rounds. And second of all, digging deep and continuing to win late rounds, even very tired. Because he's been tired before, but he's got beat up before late. And that was mainly against Figueiredo. I remember in the 3rd round, he was trying to put the pressure on Figueiredo, but the guy was still getting dropped in the 3rd round and stuff. But in that 5th round, that 4th round, you know, he showed some championship heart against Brandon Moreno. I was actually on Pantoja there at like plus 180. And I was thinking that it's not impossible that he goes 5 rounds, but probably needs to get it done early. Otherwise, Brandon's going to work him. And that didn't happen, right? But something I saw in that fight was that Brandon Moreno had that fight won. I believe if they fight again, Brandon can win that fight fairly easily. There was a few key errors that he made, and a few key errors were getting his back taken. I don't think he pushed the pace with the body shots specifically as much as he should have done. And there was a few other things that he did that maybe he could have made Pantoja gas a little bit earlier. So I feel like in this fight, it's going to go very similar to their first fight, except I don't think, or at least I'm banking on, Royval not making the same mistake and not getting submitted. If he doesn't get submitted, I truly believe that he's going to be the one that will dig deeper and just do more damage. I think he can just do more damage on the feet when he's not tired. I feel like Pantoja gets very sloppy when he's tired. Yes, he fights through, but he makes a lot more mistakes. His chin's way more up in the air. He's way more sloppy, and he's much easier to take advantage of when he's tired. He still pushes through, and he's a fucking dog. He's a raw dog. Pantoja is, right? Ironically. But he clearly makes way more mistakes than he does when he's not tired. So I think that Royval can capitalize on some of those mistakes. And I actually think Royval can be the first person to ever finish Alejandro Pantoja here. I believe that he can be the first person to do it. So I'm going to pick Royval here. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets submitted again. I'm not going to lie. Pantoja gets the back against anyone he's ever fought, ever, basically. except for maybe Davison Figueiredo. I don't think he took his back. But in every fight I can ever imagine, unless it ends early, like the Schnell fight where he just knocks him out, or Perez fight where he just did he guillotine
He
him?
took his back there.
He back.
He
Back.
just back instantly,
just
right?
brutal.
So,
30
okay,
seconds in.
I guess other than the Schnell fight and the Figueiredo fight, the guy's just taking everybody's back like all the time. Even Askarov, the fight he lost, he took his back more than once, right? That was the craziest back take I've ever seen in my life.
And that's why he lost that fight, because he was so busy trying to take his back, and Askarov reversed him and just kind of lays on top, and he spends the round trying to jiu-jitsu with him.
He got very tired in that fight, right? And he actually death gassed within about 2 minutes, and that lost him the fight, right? Obviously, Askarov's a completely different matchup because he's going to shoot takedowns and he's very good at working from top and staying safe. Royval's not very good at staying safe, in my opinion. He's not the type of guy who's going to take you down laying guard. But his gas let him down in that fight, right? So we can say he fights through and stuff. He's lost from gassing out before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get the back and then submit him, because one thing that is alarming is that as soon as he took Royval's back, he subbed him instantly. It took literally 30 seconds, right? Which was a bad look. But I'm going to stick with Royval here. I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm saying the belt changes hands. Raw doggy gets it done.
There's no value on sub at plus 120, you know?
Right.
I totally agree. But there is one thing about Pantoja's rear naked choke. It's kind of like Benoit Saint-Denis, where, like, I think he could break your jaw, not only just choke you. So he doesn't even necessarily always need to get under the chin.
Yeah.
It's just such a... Okay, Guru, what did you have?
I was just going to say, it was funny. I thought it was interesting that James said that Pantoja might be, at least when he's tired, might be the one to be more prone to make mistakes. I was thinking that Brandon Royval has kind of shown himself to be somebody that can put himself in bad positions and make mistakes. I had felt that Sorry, what'd you say, James?
I was just saying, not through tiredness. That's just his style in general.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. I was thinking that, but no, to your point, I think in just the overall general chaos sense, Pantoja has a little bit more of that controlled chaos. And Royval comes in and will make mistakes. So if you're going to try to outpace and out-chaos Pantoja, I think you're going to make a mistake. And that's where Pantoja capitalizes. And I think that's exactly how he got rear naked choke. Because Royval's a great, submission defense guy. But he slipped it under there so quick because he made a mistake trying to outpace him.
Very true.
In my opinion.
That's fair. I am not playing the money line here. I'm not parlaying the money line. I will have a small play on the knockout. And I totally get the Royval from an underdog perspective. And I think the only way you can play him is inside the distance if you were going to do so. 2 decision wins, 4 decision losses. Pantoja, 8 decision wins, 5 decision losses. The later this goes, it means that Royval couldn't finish Pantoja, and that tells me Pantoja is on his way to a decision. So I got Pantoja by knockout or decision. I think Royval should be able to defend the submission this time.
I don't want to take submission off the board.
That's you're right. You're right. I just, at the end of the day, you probably shouldn't play it, but looking for value, the plus 120 submission makes no sense. Plus 400 knockout.
From a value, let's just be honest. From a values perspective, it's on Royval.
Yeah, fair. And only inside the distance. Don't play it. I don't think money line is worth it. But
too.
I get it. It's plus money. Do your thing. So I'm not going to judge if you're going for the dog shot. I've done much worse. Maybe just rewind to last week when I played Song Kanan. Anyways, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Nomad, minus 650 versus 40-year-old Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Oh, boy. All right. So Wonderboy, he goes out there. He's supposed to fight Michel. But he goes, hey, man, you missed weight. That's not cool. I'm not going to fight. He's like, but I want to fight for a title. And they're like, all right, well, Shavkat, how about that? You son of a bitch. You wanted your fight quick and another payday. Here you go, buddy. There's your one paycheck. You're definitely not walking away with it. It's clear that if he just goes for the takedown, gets on top, I mean, whether it goes 15 minutes or he finds the finish shortly thereafter, once he gets the first takedown, the fight's over. On the feet, though, he probably could end the fight on the feet, too. If Anthony Pettis is able to get one of those shock KOs, that means that an off button exists somewhere, somehow, So spinning heel kick that shuts out the lights of Carlston Harris, he would probably need to follow up with some ground and pound, but he's definitely not going to help him up and give him a hug if Shavkat knocks down Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or gets a takedown. So Shavkat probably inside the distance. Shavkat probably round 1/round 2. I'm curious what type of value we really get there, because at the end of the day, I did parlay Shavkat. I did it with Song Yadong from last week, and I also have him with Leon Edwards. It was like for $20. So I found a way to get some money on Shavkat, but it requires the main event going my way too. It's probably dumb, but how are you going to get your money on Shavkat here, Guru?
That's a very good question. Probably gonna parlay. I feel like this card's fairly chalky from a money line perspective, so we might be able to find a couple guys to save us in here. But yeah, I do expect Shavkat to get it done. But I'm not sure that I agree with your like he's just gonna brain him in round one type deal. I mean, look at that over. I was hoping to get some fucking a good price on the over 1.5. I thought that was sharp. Over 1.5 minus 175. They're all over it. Let's just be honest. He took. I mean, there's times like looks like he's about to finish Jeff Neal in round one, round two. So I understand where you're going there. But I mean, he takes all around two to finish Neil Magny. Finishes Carlston Harris with some crazy shit at the end of round one. Hell, he took his time versus Michael Prazeres. But I mean, that being said, did we ever see that guy again? So he may have finished him for good.
I get it. I get your point.
How about what's a parlay of Shavkat and over 1.5? The craziest of all crazy.
Oh God, no! It's just disgusting at that point. Like, what are we even doing? You know, like maybe it's just find one other piece, you do the parlay, and it's disgusting, and you just do it. Right?
I think Wonder Boy's durable. I think his BJJ defense is actually better than anybody thinks. I mean, Gilbert Burns is on his back, not submitting him, so I think he's durable in that sense. And if you're going to strike with him, that's where he's still good. He's beating Anthony Pettis in that fight. Pettis fucking bounces off the cage, pulls a rabbit out of a hat, man. It's MMA. This is gonna, I mean, he can definitely finish him. I'm not trying to take that from him. And he can finish him at any point. I just, you saw in the Jeff Neal fight, it takes accumulation, I still think. It takes some time. But you're not going to throw a spinning hook kick versus, I mean, maybe you are going to throw it versus Wonder Boy Thompson. I don't know. I think Wonder Boy survives. So maybe what is Shavkat over 1.5 as we pass it to James?
You want me to speak, or you wait?
Oh yeah. What do you got here, James?
I'm pulling it up, but
yeah. So you think he's going to survive to decision or just over 1.5?
Listen. Part of me feels like I just want to be completely crazy and thinks he might survive a decision, but nobody's done that yet. So I think he probably finishes him in 2 or 3.
Nobody's done that, and I don't think Stephen Thompson at 40 years old, the Karate Kid, is going to be able to do it. To be honest, Plus, I mean, Shavkat's a motherfucker, man. This guy's an absolute brute. We saw in a Jeff Neal fight something we've never seen from him.
Yeah,
which is just a crazy back and forth dogfight. I mean, we did see that in the regional scene, kind of, where he got dropped on his face really, really bad. I don't know if you guys remember that fight, but there was that regional scene fight where I thought he was going to get finished. He got badly dropped and hurt. It's the only time he's ever really been badly hurt in his career. And then in round 3, he just comes back and just kills the guy. So I guess that was kind of like a back and forth fight. But the Jeff Neal fight was something very, very crazy. It was just like a back and forth war with one of the hardest hitters in the division. And he smashed him, man. Do you know what I mean? He showed more heart, more durability, more pace, more pressure. And he finished him with that rear naked choke in round 3, which was brutal, which I actually had him to win in round 3 at plus 1,000 odds there. So shout out to Shavkat. And I know a lot of people, I've seen a couple guys in the chat they're Anthony, right? Anthony's saying that Shavkat round 3. And I actually had another one of my mates message me, Shavkat round 3. And I'm just thinking, damn, boy, like, you got a lot of faith in Stephen Thompson at 40 years old, because Stephen Thompson is not good on the ground. Like, he's developed a decent style to half stay safe and not really get into any trouble on the feet. And then, obviously, if you take him down, he doesn't really look good on bottom. If you go back and watch that Bilal Muhammad fight, that was a bad... Bilal Muhammad is not the top player that is. And he was just going through him like butter. Like Bilal Muhammad dominating him on the ground. I'm surprised that fight stopped. I'm pretty sure I bet the fight to go to decision at like minus 200. like chalky price. And for the whole fight, the whole 15 minutes, I was like, no way. Like this is one of the worst bets I've ever made. I mean, Bilal was in his face in the fight should have been stopped like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
He had deep, like Stephen Thompson ain't gonna survive Shavkat on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised.
You're right.
Smashes him in 3 minutes. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it really depends on what he wants to do. If he says to himself, I'm going to go out there and take him down and finish him on the ground, I think he can do it in 90 seconds. I truly believe he can do it. But this is an MMA fight. He might not be completely stupid. Stephen Thompson's still going to crack you when you're trying to close distance, as he did to Bilal Muhammad when they was on the feet. You know, I know that fight, again, is people remember it of like Bilal dominating him on the ground, which he did. But when they was on the feet, Stephen was still cracking him and still throwing. So maybe Shavkat's smart here. You're kind of just rolling the dice if you're playing round 1, round 2, or round 3. I don't think there's any real smart analysis behind it because it's impossible to be confident that he survives on the ground. And it's also impossible to know how much Shavkat wants to push the ground game. Because in different fights, he does different things. In the Jeff Neal fight, I mean, we've seen Jeff Neal dominated with the wrestling before. I mean, at least with the grappling, right? Which is in the Neal Magny fight. Just get taken down, kind of dominated there. Not taken down, but kind of pressed up against the cage and just ride against the cage. And then Shavkat goes in there and has a brutal war with him, just on the feet. He doesn't really shoot takedowns at all. But then in the Neal Magny fight, Shavkat's shooting takedowns from the go. So who the fuck knows, man? Who knows? Do you know who knows what's gonna? Like, don't come at me with all this technical analysis because you just don't know what Shavkat's gonna do in this fight. I do think Shavkat's gonna finish him, and I think he can finish him whenever he wants. So I don't know if I'll look for a TKO or sub. Depends what the line is. Boys, do you have the submission and TKO props up there? You can.
I just did it. James, I can't listen. I think let me digress for 1 second. I think it's so important to stick to your guns as a handicapper. At the same time, it's very important to listen and be self-aware. I'm wrong. You're right. It's absolutely crazy to even try to slice that pie is insane. And I love the finish prop. That's what you do. You bet him to keep his streak going. Shavkat by finish is -175.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. That's good to me.
That's unbelievable. And it's what you have to do. It's what you have to do.
There you go.
Thank you, Jay. Unbelievable. Feels so ridiculous. It's like you're trying to. I'm trying too hard. Don't try. Don't think so hard.
I believe so.
It's okay.
You know, and like you said, you know, you're a handicapper. You watch tape yourself. Stick to your own reads. There's going to be plenty of times when I'm wrong and you are right. It's going to happen this weekend, right? Because we've got many fights, and that just happens. But I will just say, because I know a lot of people are on the over this week, and look, it may hit, but I would just tell them to go back and watch the last 45 seconds of Bilal Muhammad. It's the last 45 seconds of the first round. Please do this if you're betting the over, right? Just watch the last 45 seconds of the first round of Bilal Muhammad versus Stephen Thompson and tell me if you still want to bet any type of over in this spot. Because not only did he get 10-8'd in the last 45 seconds and probably could have been finished by Bilal Muhammad, he also got his back taken in that time. And that was the first time that Bilal got a takedown on him, right? So the first time he got a takedown, he got straight to the back and 10-8'd him. So you just have to be careful, right? It really depends on what he wants to do. So, yeah, did you get the TKO versus submission prop up? Because I would be interested to play a TKO. I believe submission will be favored.
Oh,
yes,
the versus.
You're correct. It was +120 submission and about +240, +280 knockout.
Yeah, I like that. I like the knockout. And the reason I like the knockout is, again, going back to the Bilal Muhammad fight, ground and pound was heavy in that fight. Very, very heavy. Stephen Thompson seemed to not want to get submitted. He was tucking his chin. He had his hand up, but he was just getting ground and pounded bad. And I also believe that Shavkat can knock him out on the feet, which sounds kind of crazy. But
no, he can.
At this point in time, Wonder Boy is ancient. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got dropped, even elbowed to fucking the clinch, cut stoppage. I just would like to lean to the TKO prop. Not saying I'm going to bet it, but that's what I would play over the submission. But I'm actually going to probably lay the juice for the inside the distance because I truly believe Shavkat can go through him like butter if he wants to.
I agree. And I will be laying that. You're going to see that somewhere on my Bet MMA. I will absolutely play that.
Nice.
This This one, oh man, we got Tony El Kukui Ferguson versus Paddy the Body Pimblett. Yeah, I mean, listen, Tony is 11 years older. He's given up. Yeah, he's 1 inch taller, going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. All the experience you could ever want in the world. But I might be one of the most biased people that could break down this fight, just given my tendencies in the past betting. Not even Tony. Let's not even talk about Tony, but I'm biased as fuck when it comes to Paddy the Pimblett fight. So, James, how about this? How about you take the lead on this one? Whether you have a strong take or not, what's your analysis on this fight?
Love it.
Boys, I don't know if this is true, but I'm hearing word that Ian Gary is out of his fight against
so
Vicente Luque.
Here's why I didn't bring it up. One, I think the initial source is Chael. So I take 0 that he says, you know, for real truth. And then 2, he didn't show up for the press conference, but did we really expect him to be at this press conference after everything?
Well, I think today was media day. Tomorrow's press conference.
Okay, whatever it was, whatever he didn't show up for, he was supposed to like fly in for the press conference. And I think his non-arrival, people are taking that as for the press conference and for the media day, that means he's not going to be at the fight. I'm gonna wait till we don't see him at weigh-ins. Like, yeah, and someone besides Chael is the source.
We're not going to call it a fact, but I just thought it's worth mentioning. Some interesting news coming in right now. Fair. People saying that he's pulled out, but who knows, man?
You just shut him right down, TB. Damn.
No. Well, listen, listen.
I
if you tell me Marcel, then I'm like, all right. You know, you're telling me Chael Sonnen said he got sick. Like,
yeah, I see Amy McCormick retweeting. Yeah, Chael. So exactly.
I don't trust Chael. James, that is a good call, though. That is important to bring up as we're here live.
Bro, boys, we just talking about the MMA right now. You know, it makes the show a bit funner.
It does. I love it. We got to keep us on our toes, you know.
So this fight, speaking of fun, this fight ain't fun, man. Because I don't want to see my boy Tony Ferguson take another loss. But guess what? I'm gonna see my boy Tony Ferguson. I don't know. You got me, boys? Am I back?
There we are. Yes,
you are. Sound all right now, I think.
I think that's what's going to happen to Tony, man. I think he's going to get cut off consciousness. I don't know if it's going to be a knockout. I don't know if it's going to be a sub. I think it's probably going to be a submission. Paddy should really run through Tony at this stage. I mean, what are we doing here? He's lost 7 fights in a row. Are we really going to make a case for Tony? And if you are, I ain't trying to shit on you because I don't know your picks, right? But I'd like to hear that case because the guy's done, man. The guy's been done for years. Maybe he's got the new resurgence with David Goggins. I doubt it, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, mindset ain't going to help you. Cardio ain't going to help you here. Your skill set, your reaction timing, your durability, how slow you've become, that type of stuff, you can't get back by training with David Goggins. So I think Paddy's going to find a back sooner or later. And I think Paddy's going to get a submission win here.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about Tony bringing in David Goggins is like, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't really make any sense at all. If we had to characterize Tony Ferguson as 2 things, it would be what? Cardio monster, mental toughness for days. What is David Goggins going to help you with? Endurance and mental conditioning. Like, what the fuck, Tony? Why aren't you? My headphones cut out. Why aren't you doing anything that is actually going to help your MMA game? Like, that's absolutely crazy. Like, I want to see you making developments elsewhere. Hell, go work with Eric Nixick. Why are you working with David Goggins? Not who I want to see you working with. Paddy's had a really, really quiet year, and I think that's by design. You heal up from some injuries, you let some of the storm die down a little bit, then you come out on a big pay-per-view where you've already been and you win everybody back over by finishing their beloved Tony Ferguson, their beloved El Kukui. So, yeah, what is the Paddy by finish line that I'm not going to get to hear? I got to go get fresh batteries for this old ass set of headphones I've got. So I'll be back in a minute. But hold it down, boys.
Maybe you want to do the AirPods, Guru, and just make sure the audio goes through your mic. Anywho, my only counterpoint to the Tony has had great cardio, endurance, and will to fight recently. My argument to that point is, I mean, Tony was in camp with a bunch of yes men, a bunch of people that were telling him to throw sand. And like, I really think his past few fights, he didn't really have people in his corner that were helping him win a fight. And I don't think he has anyone in his corner this time that's going to help him win a fight, but he has someone in his training camp making him do the running instead of DUIing and driving his truck and flipping it over in front of a liquor store or wherever the fuck Tony was getting DUIs before his last fight. Listen, I think if anything, we're going to see, the best version of Tony that we could possibly see at this stage, but that doesn't leave much for the imagination. And plus 250 is nowhere near a good enough line to take the chance on him, given recent historical stuff. I will say to Anthony's point, though, which is kind of what, I'm the biggest Paddy hater out there. I think he's terrible. His chin's always up in the air. But even if the dude's gotten dropped before, like, he gets back up. So I think we get it again. I think Tony's going to drop Paddy in round 1. But Tony's going to fall off a fucking cliff and get finished at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. Listen, possible. I will give James all the credit. I'll clip myself being a dick and post it online if I'm wrong. If Chael's actually
we'll
right.
Get more updates. We'll get more updates as we go on the show, which will be fun. Boys, about this fight here, it's quite funny because, a lot of people like to use the narrative, the UFC wants this guy to win. Have you ever seen a more set up fight than Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett? It's like they're not even trying to hide it from you. Sometimes they we'll give Ilia Topuria a push against Josh Emmett, but Josh Emmett, in the eyes of the fans, he's still a good fighter. He was on a 6-fight win streak. He's only lost 1 fight. He's getting a bit older. Like, we'll hide it in plain sight that we're trying to push him, right? But they're not even trying to hide this. This is blatant, like, go and fight this ancient man who's lost 7 in a row. This reminds me of when they pushed Yair Rodriguez and they made him fight BJ Penn. This is like the same level, man. They're not even trying to hide it from us.
It's bad. Guru's back in business. And you know what? I agree. I think the most disgusting part of this fight is that they tried to say, hey, Paddy, Jared Gordon's been knocked out 4 times. Here you go. And he couldn't even do that, and they had to gift him a decision in his last fight. He gets ankle surgery, comes back. They go, you know what? Tony's still got a number next to his name. Tony's in the rankings at lightweight. Who could we possibly have Paddy fight to get into the rankings? They legitimately found the only option. So
should have been Matt Frivola.
Yeah.
But he's still ranked. Did you just say he's ranked, Tony Ferguson?
Isn't he, right? Like,
he's
still
ranked.
Right?
Are you sure about that?
Is he?
I'm going to UFC.com. We're doing it now.
Jesus
okay.
Christ, mate.
If he's ranked, he's like 15.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But Paddy's not ranked, right?
No, I don't know.
There's amateurs. There's amateurs in my gym that will go through Tony Ferguson. The guy's done, mate. He's done.
Yeah, let's see.
Been done for years.
Tony Ferguson is not ranked. You made that up.
Okay. I would like to apologize.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. That would have been terrible. That would
I was trying to think of,
Number 15 at lightweight is Drew Dober. And it
was Bobby Green. That's what it was. Bobby Green took his ranking. That's when it was. Okay, my bad. It was the last time. Okay, thank God.
This will get him up there, though. Like, you are right in the fact that this will stepstone him into the rankings, or at least a ranking fight.
Oh, I mean, if you think they actually make him fight Drew Dober before they just take the number 15 and give it to Paddy after beating Tony, you got something else coming to you. He's going to be number 15 after this fight.
Dober versus Pimblett would be fun, wouldn't it?
That would be a fucking awesome. I would take. Oh my God, as my hopes and dreams as a Paddy hater. I would love to see Drew Dober versus. I would love to see Matt Frivola versus Paddy Pimblett. I would any of the top 15 besides, what we're getting in this matchup.
I can't believe it's taken I can't believe it's taken nearly how many shows? 120 shows, 120 podcasts, 123 shows for my headphones to finally die on air.
Wow,
so, pretty cool.
Knowing the guru, that's actually impressive. So here we go. Is this matchup actually going to happen? I don't know. There's a lot of like off the octagon concerns, quote unquote, going into here. Where is Gary's focus? Is it on the MMA guru? Not this one, not Guru Scouting MMA. Is it on the MMA guru? Is it on the rest of the MMA Twitter community? Is it on Layla Machado Gary? Is it on, all the fans getting into him about stuff, or is it on Vicente Luque? So I'm breaking down this fight as if Ian Machado Gary's focus is on Vicente Luque, because I can't tell you if it is or if it isn't. Quite frankly, I mean, the leg kicks, the distance management, the movement, and just Vicente Luque's unwillingness to want to strike from distance anymore, as evidenced in the RDA fight, and just absolutely lackluster takedown and offensive grappling approach. I mean, just complete stalling, and I don't see that successful against the 4-inch taller, 6-year younger Ian Machado Gary. He is the future of this division. Vicente Luque is the silent assassin, but ultimately, I think he'll be kept in silence in this matchup. I see Luque, if anything, just getting chopped down, not being able to deal with the distance. Listen, if you want to take the hater shot, if you want to do your thing, go ahead. I've faded Ian Gary in the past. I can't bring myself to do it in this specific matchup, and we'll see if this fight even happens. So, Guru, what do you got going on?
I have it on very good authority that this fight is absolutely happening, and he is not pulled out of the fight. Certainly not at this time. So
name the source, bro. Name the source.
It is. I cannot do such a thing.
Come on, mate. The people want to know.
The people.
The fans want to know, mate.
I feel pretty good about it. I'll tell you that it's somewhere between. I'll tell you it's somewhere between 3 and 5 ounces. So, if that's a riddle for you, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. So I think that Ian Machado Gary, I mean, look at how he beat the shit out of Neil Magny. And look at how he beat the shit out of Neil Magny. Vicente Luque needed to wrestle versus RDA to win. That's not a good sign. He had to rely on just being simply the bigger guy. He stuffed some takedowns and got a couple of his own. It was a very, very strange fight. He did not look sharp in the striking. Ian Machado Gary's an absolute killer. I thought he might finally start getting some respect after the Neil Magny win. It seemed like some of the tide was changing. And then this whole, shit hit the fan thing about his wife. And then the whole hater public perception came back again. So I think he should do, who is it? Maybe Henry Cejudo I read said that, or somebody I read said that he should just go full heel. And I kind of agree. Just go, Brazil, you all suck. Do the full Colby Covington. Go for it. Go full heel and go get your belt, man. I think the dude's really, really solid. And Vicente Luque is not the guy that's going to touch him here. So let's keep it rolling with Ian Gary. I think he's parlay safe. I would even do him with Shavkat if you'd like, but I think Gary gets it done.
Yeah, I'm with the same opinion as you guys, man. You can make the case where maybe he's not focused on the fight and stuff, but it's very hard to know how that's going to affect the fighter. People react differently to things, and it's not always a bad sign. I remember famously Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He was very volatile. Anytime he was, I can't remember exactly what it was now. The guys haven't fought in a while, but if he was friendly with a guy, he'd get beat or something. But then if he wasn't, he'd beat him up, or that seemed to happen quite often with Donald. Whereas some fighters the complete opposite way. If they have so much beef, maybe they can get a little bit overwhelmed. And I know there's a lot of stuff outside the octagon, but I don't think it's worth speaking about. We don't know how Ian Gary's going to react to that. Ian Gary's the longer guy. He's the sharper guy. I think that overall, he's probably just going to piece Vicente Luque up. I didn't like how Vicente looked against RDA, but he somehow managed to win with wrestling, which is just completely random. I didn't think that would happen. I actually thought it would be the opposite way. I thought RDA could get takedowns.
Exactly.
And maybe Vicente would have some edge on the feet. So I was just completely wrong there. But on the feet, he was getting cracked a little bit by RDA. And I was like, damn, this is going the complete opposite way, which is shit just happens in MMA like that sometimes. So I've had a good read on Ian Gary. I've won a lot of money on him. I've been betting on him ever since he came into the UFC. I know a lot of people have been trying to bet against him. I've been trying to bet on him. So yeah, shout out to Ian Gary because he's won me a lot of money. But I think overall that he's going to win the fight. I don't know how he's going to do it. Probably inside the distance because I just don't really like how Vicente's looking these days. He's getting old and stuff. So I guess inside the distance. But Ian Gary plays with his food, man. I've only ever bet on Ian Gary to win via decision if I've bet on a prop on him or like over 1.5 rounds, because the guy plays with his food. I bet on him via decision against Kinon Song. I had 1.5 units at plus 275. And like he finishes him with like 20 seconds left in the fight. It was such a heartbreaking loss there because that was a big 5+ unit swing or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to decision, but I tend to think he actually gets a finish in this one.
Yeah. And you know what? An interesting point, actually, I think in the Vicente Luque return fight, like the ref and commission were like on high alert that if he took like any sort of like considerable damage or looked to be out of it, that they would stop it like right away. I think that's going to hold true in this matchup too. So it's not like where Neil Magny is known for his durability. They're going to let the guy fight through. Like Luque gets hurt, this fight's over.
100%. They're not giving him a long leash. He will never have a long leash again for the rest of the time he fights in the UFC at the very least, because it's a law. It's like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Subdural hematoma just sounds absolutely terrible. That's a brain bleed. What sounds worse, subdural hematoma or brain bleed? You tell me in the chat. All right, cool. They're the same thing. Anyways, yeah. We're on to our next fight here, but before we do that, thank you guys so much. We just made it through the main card. Hope you stay around, obviously to watch the rest of the show here, because we're going to do a great job breaking it down top to bottom, probably best card of the year. So stick around. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Always have the best guests on. As you can see, we're closing out the year with lucrative MMA. I don't know if it gets any better. So if you're not, and you got the cash to do it, and you're trying to make real money gambling, you got to subscribe to Lucrative MMA. His YouTube channel is in our description. Get all of his info there. Follow him on Twitter and everywhere else. You can follow us everywhere listed below. So we're going to keep on rolling. Like if you haven't already. It would be messed up if you didn't like and you're watching right now. Cost you nothing. But we got the CCO. What does that stand for? Josh Emmett, CCO, versus Thug Nasty, Bryce Mitchell.
Where did you get CCO from? That is not a nickname.
UFC stats. They gave him the nickname CCO. So you're going to tell me that me taking it off the official website. Well, can I remind you about Hyen Amanda again, about how
that's
they call
not
her
name. It's a million times not her name.
But on the UFC broadcast, they had it listed Amanda. So anyways, CCO, Josh Emmett. Oh my God, he's calling the UFC wrong. Anyway, so CCO, Josh Emmett. Wow, Guru is always right.
His nickname is CCO. I just didn't know that.
So that's my question. What does it stand
for? When did he make that his nickname?
I'm pretty sure it was even last fight. It was there. Is it
like
Chief Combat Officer?
Recent.
Chief Combat Officer Josh Emmett versus Thug Nasty, leader of the Battalion of the Rebellion, Bryce Mitchell.
Leader of the Battalion of the Flat Earthers.
All right, but in this matchup here, my real question, and I asked the Guru to do some real research on this matchup. So before that, 9 years older Josh Emmett, 4 inches taller Bryce Mitchell, same reach. Guru, you did a great job doing the tape on this one. What do you got?
What did I do? I did a good job on something?
Yeah. Go ahead. Take some credit here. Are you going to mess this up too somehow?
I'm sure I'll find a way to mess something up. Listen, one of the major things about the Josh Emmett tape that you go back and look, especially when you look at this matchup with Bryce Mitchell, when has Josh Emmett fought a wrestler or at least anybody that's going to primarily be looking to take Josh Emmett down? And let me answer that for you. Never. Not once. Maybe only Scott Holtzman, who shot for 3 takedowns on Josh Emmett. Not a single other person. They realize Josh Emmett has crazy knockout power, and they've continued to book him time and time again in firefights. Calvin Kattar, Shane Burgos, Michael Johnson, Ricardo Lamas, Yair Rodriguez. Absolutely brawling, crazy fights. Then you watch him get absolutely dismantled by Ilia Topuria, which is understandable, but he also gives up 3 takedowns for over 6 minutes of control time. Bryce Mitchell showed in his last fight versus Dan Ige, and honestly himself versus Ilia Topuria, coming in unhealthy, that he does some crazy level of durability himself. He does have a toughness to him. And I'm just not sure that Josh Emmett, who has kind of made a career on pulling it out of the fire, I'm just not sure that he's going to pull it out of the fire here at 38 years old. I just think that Bryce is a grinder. I think that he's nasty, and I think that he really wants that ranking. And I just think that he's going to end up blanketing Josh. I love Josh. Josh has been one of my favorite fighters for a long time. And I would love to take him at a dog price. But unless you're betting a Josh Emmett knockout, there's no reason to play Josh Emmett at all. And I don't think you're knocking out Thug Nasty. So give me Thug Nasty.
Yeah. All right, and James, what do you got, man?
Yeah, sorry, bro. Yeah, I'm thinking that the exact same as you. Really, I don't have a massive breakdown in difference to yours. I think that Thug Nasty at this point in his career is kind of just going to do what he wants to Josh Emmett. Obviously, Josh Emmett has that, potential wrestling, stocky build, defense type, archetype to maybe stuff a few takedowns and hit really hard. Kind of like how Dan Ige did, and actually bet on Dan Ige in that spot against Bryce Mitchell. I don't think it was a bad bet, a plus 180. It was a very close fight. I actually thought that he may get the decision, I think, going back and watching it, or if not, it was extremely close. But is what it is. They favored the wrestling over the damage a little bit, which is cool. But I think that Dan Ige, I think he's way faster in terms of the wrestling transitions. So there was points in that fight where he's able to scramble and throw his hips back a lot quicker than Josh Emmett will be able to do. I think that Bryce Mitchell is going to be able to stick to Josh Emmett a lot faster and a lot stronger and a lot more sticky than he was able to do against Dan Ige. And I think that's going to be the difference here. And even in that fight, he still won against Dan Ige, right? So I think that is he going to get a finish in this spot? I mean, obviously, Emmett's tough. We've seen that in his last fight against Ilia Topuria, but I actually kind of think he is going to get a finish in this spot. I think that he'll find a submission at some point. I think that he's going to be a bit too tenacious. I think that his cardio is going to be a little bit too much. I think he'll dig a little bit too deep. And I just see, at the risk of repeating myself, I think Bryce Mitchell's going to roll through Josh Emmett fairly comfortably.
Yeah, I like that. I think, not going to echo you guys. Guru really, I asked him a couple questions about, has Josh Emmett ever faced XYZ? Has Bryce Mitchell, had trouble with this or that? And Guru was like, nah, man, I think he should roll here. So missing that opening line, unfortunate, but I'll pick Bryce. I'm generally a hater of like Bryce Mitchell, Paddy Pimblett. I'm taking all the guys I'm hating against. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be unbiased here because, I think they're the better fighters in this matchup.
Wow. What an interesting thing to do, to be turning over a new leaf 17 days before the new year. Just very, very impressive.
Yeah, hey, I don't need to wait for New Year's resolutions, man. I've been reshaping my approach this whole month, quite frankly. Been disappointed in inconsistencies. So never be afraid to make the change whenever you need to.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
because this is quite important.
Yes.
In your gambling careers.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've done it as well. Do you do yearly reviews of the bets you've done, the bets you've made, the good bets, the bad bets, the styles the approach you take? And if so, has it helped you? Because I've been saying recently that it's coming up to the end of the year, and I've been telling my audience that it's really important to do reviews on the whole year, because that's the only way you're going to improve, right? You can't just randomly improve one day. I mean, you have to have feedback, right? And you have to go back and review what you've done, and so you can improve it. So, yeah, I just wondered if you guys do that, and if so, if you found any benefit from it.
So that's a great question. We've prepared to do them before, just kind of like looking back at the year in review. But I think this is the first year coming up where I'm seeing the value in exactly what you're saying. And we're definitely going to be going back, doing a live stream, looking back at our bets over the year, whether on Bet MMA, our betting accounts, whatever stuff, even our Tapology picks is a general good idea, but just really revisiting the year and seeing what our tendencies, where do we continue to go wrong? What are our pitfalls? Because it's getting to the point where like, I've been doing this long enough where, I shouldn't be having these emotional responses to a loss. I shouldn't be blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I am human and still having these things happen. So to your point, man, it's an ever continuing process of improvement and change, and just accepting that you can't guarantee this or that, but you can guarantee like a process. So as long as you have a solid process, you got a chance.
I also think looking back sometimes in a micro sense at specific individual bets, and seeing how much we've grown from that process. I think we'll talk about that in a later fight coming up in a couple fights. And then I think in a macro sense, we're actually able to now, because one of these apps that we love using now called Picket, where it uploads all our bookie information from various bookies into the one app, and we can now look at it in a much larger macro sense. We can go by week, by month, by year, and it's kind of changed the landscape of how we're looking at our bets. And to your point, I think we're amateurs, but I think we've been really working hard to become better. And it's like, what is our system for betting? Like, is there a standard that we actually have set? And to be quite honest with everybody, like I haven't set myself to a proper standard yet. And it's cost me because I've done fairly well. And then I've done very stupid things as well. So boiling down a better, sharper system is absolutely my goal for 2024. And but you're right, there's no reason not to try that this weekend.
Good stuff, man. Good to hear it.
Appreciate you, James. Always asking the important questions here.
Absolutely.
So we got Irene Loba.
Let's be honest. Worst fight on the card. Worst fight on the card.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, by far. They had to mix it in somewhere, right?
We're gonna make money. We're gonna make money on this fight, though, boys.
Let's go. That is the attitude I love.
Well, I'm all ears because I've got nothing here.
Listen, I'll give the quick intro. It sounds like I need to pass it to James immediately, so that's what I'm going to do. We got Irene Loba Aldana versus Caroline Rosa. That's her actual name, short Carol. And Loba is just, I think she trains at Lobo Gym, so it's fun. TB nicknames for the first time this card. Welcome to the juice. Aldana coming in minus 198, Hossa plus 164. Hossa 7 years younger, 4 inches shorter, 1 inch reach disadvantage. James is going to tell us how we can make some money on this fight. What do you got, my friend?
Yeah, because boys, it's like, it's the worst fight on the card, so we need to spice it up some way, right? And what better way to spice it up by risking our hard-earned money on it? Because then that's going to make any fight entertaining, or at least watchable. Last week we had, or I think the week before, or last week we had Stephanie Egger versus that other judo chick, right?
Luana.
And everyone, I had over 2.5 rounds at Pick'em, and everybody was, a few people messaged or posting on the timeline, oh, it's such a boring fight. Ban these girls, like terrible fight, women's MMA. And I was like, boys, this is the best fight I've ever seen in my life. I got the over 2.5 rounds and they're just clinching the whole time. Like, I'm loving this, right? And I think we're going to do the same here. Yes, maybe it's the worst fight, but if it's the worst fight, right, there's a reason for that. It's because who knows what's going to happen, first of all. Second of all, these girls, they're never going to fight for the title. It's a little bit lower level. One fighter's getting on a little bit. I mean, you got a 35-year-old bantamweight, women's MMA. It's not the greatest. I think this is a spot for Carol Rosa to be a good underdog pick. And the reason is because Irene Aldana's overrated, in my opinion. I think she's just overrated by the market, right? I actually bet on Macy Chiasson in her last fight at like plus 200. And I had this whole spiel on my podcast, on my YouTube channel earlier this week, right? And I was saying, I never like to call shots fluky. And the reason is because at the end of the day, man, if you've set the shot up, if you've thrown a feint or you've thrown a feint to the body, they drop the hands down, you come over the top in a fight that you're getting your ass beat at, but you still knock him out. Who am I to then say fluke? Imagine if I was in a fight, right? And I'm getting my ass beat and then I throw a punch and it's the first punch I've thrown in a while, but it connects him on the chin and it knocks him out. And then people were like, oh, it was a fluke. It was a fluke. I say, shut the fuck up, man. I threw a punch. I knocked that boy out. Don't be talking about flukes. He's on the floor, right? So I would be annoyed. So I don't like when people say flukes because you still set the shot up. You still threw the shot. And then I went back on what I said and I was like, but in the Irene Aldana versus Macy Chiasson fight, I mean, surely that was a fluke. I mean,
that shit was crazy.
She was on her ass. She was on her ass. And she threw an up kick to the liver, right? Just to the body. It randomly hit her in the liver and just shut Macy Chiasson down.
How do you not just quit on top? At least quit on top of her. Why do you quit the other direction? Like what?
Yeah. Because then maybe you can quit on
You
top and
and
like the ref
fake-
doesn't even
right.
half notice it type thing, and then maybe 10 seconds later you kind of it's true. But I guess, man, when you're in there, the shot's the shot. It is what it is. Your
Yeah.
body just reacts. But like
Crazy.
maybe that was a fluke shot because that's what toddlers do. When you're on, what do toddlers do when they're angry? They're on their back and they just throw kicks. Like there's no skill at all. Like yes, maybe you got some MMA nerd who's gonna come in and tell me no, there's a technique to up kicks. And at the end of the day, man, you're on your back and you're just kicking your legs up, right? It ain't really technical. You didn't set it up. You're just flailing. So that was a fluke, in my opinion. I think she should have lost that last fight. She was getting wrestled. And remember, Carol Rosa can wrestle girls. I know we haven't seen it lately. I know Carol Rosa, you can't trust her. I know she's in split decisions all the time. I know she doesn't fight, maybe optimally. But the fight on the feet, in my opinion, is kind of close. Yes, Aldana's the better boxer. She could catch her with some shots, but I think it's fairly close on the feet. I don't think it's a major difference. And then Carol Rosa taking her down and just staying on top of her for 3 rounds. Would anyone be surprised? Not at all. This fight should be a pick'em. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, Aldana has an advantage. She could win via that advantage. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to cash. I mean, I said we're going to cash, so hopefully we cash. But I think Carol Rosa is the easy pick in this fight. I don't understand how you lay minus 200 on Irene Aldana. I just don't see it. It's impossible for me to see it. Like I said in the Pantoja fight, I'm betting on Brandon Royval. I'm on that side. But I understand why you bet minus 190 Pantoja. I can see the argument. I cannot see the argument for minus 198 Irene Aldana. I just don't see it at all.
Yeah. And that's basically kind of why I stayed away. It's like I mean, I kind of lean Aldana, but I don't really like it at all, especially not at minus 200. And I don't, did Carol Rosa even beat Yana Santos last fight in that split decision? Like, that's up for debate. She's back down from featherweight now at bantamweight. How is she even gonna look? She hasn't even looked good at featherweight. She didn't really even look good versus Lena Landsberg. Lena Landsberg's 40 million years old. I didn't understand that fight. It's been a really long time since like the Betch Correia win, where you thought that you actually might have somebody, a prospect, so to speak, here. So don't really love any of it, but hey, I'll throw a little grandma's couch cushion on the dog shot because James said so. Why the hell not?
Both girls are untrustworthy. It should be a close fight. Whatever, I take the dog, man.
And that's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, I'm going to lean. I mean, I'm picking Aldana. I have no interest in betting the money line at minus 198. It's disgusting to want to lay juice in this matchup, as James so aptly points out. I just lean toward the 50% side where Aldana's size is a little bit too much. And overall, like, her boxing is, she's not necessarily super technical, but I think she'll land with more impact, more consistently. But that's not enough for me to pull the trigger on minus 198 money line. So, James, if you can cash that ticket, man, I'm rooting for you.
Let's go, man. Let's do it.
Pick, whatever. So, next fight, we got Cody No Love Garbrandt.
How far we have fallen.
Versus Brian Boom Kelleher. This is the first matchup of that new matchmaker throwing together these, actually a solid matchup. If you were going to give Cody No Chin Garbrandt any matchup in the division, you would give him a guy coming off of cervical fusion. And no, not that type of cervix. It's his neck, guys. Get your mind out of the gutters. So Brian Kelleher, let me say this, as someone that works in the healthcare industry, doing stuff with people that have had fusions. What
do you do with people that have fusions exactly?
I get after it.
Goodness.
I've worked with some people, that are recovering from whether it's,
you work on a street corner, correct?
Lumbar or cervical spine fusions. I also work with people that have had laminectomies, discectomies, all different sorts of issues. And basically what it comes down to is longevity and long-term ability to be healthy. So I don't think, listen, if the doctors and the physical therapists are clearing Brian Kelleher to step in the octagon, his fusion is not of my concern at this standpoint. What is of my concern is the fact that he loses in the first round in his last 2 matchups. Then I take a closer look and it's like Umar Nurmagomedov and Mario Bautista, guys that are huge and have a bigger reach and can out wrestle the shit out of this guy. Cody can kind of like use his high school ability wrestling to get takedowns, but he's not maintaining top control.
Zero
He's
top
not
control.
submitting anybody.
Zero.
So Boom Boom's got a chance here. I'm going to take a dog shot. It's disgusting. I get why you wouldn't want to do it. But Cody shows absolutely no heart in the Trevin Jones win, skirting around the outside, using his movement, and the fact that Trevin Jones can't throw more than 20 strikes in a fight or he spontaneously combusts. He used that fact against him, wins a sketchy decision where he loses round 3 to Trevin Jones. Oh my God. So I got Brian Boom Kelleher. It's gross, but what do you got, Guru?
What a fucking crazy idea, the fact that Cody Garbrandt, former bantamweight champion, could come out here and lose to somebody that just got a steel rod implanted in their neck. Yeah, I mean, that Trevin Jones fight is damn near unwatchable. I mean, it's midway through the second round, and like Trevin Jones has landed like 7-10 strikes. Like, he's done nothing. And Cody's still tentative, working, bouncing, thinking. Like, everything that made him special is gone. I mean, I don't want to say everything. I think that's really too harsh. He's got fast hands. He still has some power. And he still has some explosivity. But surgeries and injuries and knockouts, the guy is a shell of what he once was, and kind of needs to change up his game in terms of like get the fight off the feet, learn how to actually hold somebody down with some top control. Not going to happen here. And I think if he tries for too long, Kelleher has 10 submission wins. Not a good place to hang out. I have no idea what Cody's jiu-jitsu looks like. 0 submission wins in his entire career, 0 submission losses. My favorite bet for this fight is I think it goes the distance. Boom has only been knocked out one time, and it was in round 3 by you may have heard of him, John fucking Lineker. Yeah, he's got a nickname, Hands of Stone. So you know, get knocked out by that guy in round 3, we can give him a pass. He's durable as shit. The one thing he's basically like same skill level type idea as Trevin Jones, except like I just said about Trevin Jones, not fighting. Boom wants to fight more than anything in the world, and I promise he's going to bring some level of fight to Cody Garbrandt. So, to TB's point, I really don't hate a dog shot, but I much rather play the over at plus money. The fight goes the distance at plus money. What do you think, James?
I like Kelleher a little bit in this spot, and it's not because I love Kelleher as a fighter. Obviously, he's coming back off some dodgy circumstances, lost 2 of his last fights, finished. But Cody ain't going to take him down, take his back, and choke him out. When has Cody ever done that in his career? I don't think he's ever done that. Has Cody ever got a rear naked choke?
Never.
Probably
not even in the amateur circuit. Like,
damn.
Nothing regional, nothing. Like, nothing.
Usually, like, you know, it's funny. Usually, all MMA fighters have like a rear naked choke when they first start because it's like the first thing they learn. And if they're good enough at athletic to like be good, then usually they get wins from that, unless they're just like knocking people out. But he doesn't even have one of them, so I don't think he's going to do it in this fight, which is how Kelleher has lost recently. This fight is probably going to be on the feet, and they're probably going to swing a little bit, man. And you got to favor Kelleher, right? He's got a bit of a better chin. Probably hits just as hard, if not maybe a bit hard. I mean, Kelleher will swing, boys. Like, you go boom on your chin, you know? And if not, if Cody tries to take him down, like he probably will, because he tried to take a few fighters down recently. He tried to take Rob Font down. He tried to take Trevin Jones down. That guillotine is tight, man. Brian Kelleher loves a guillotine, man. He's a little veteran as well. You know what I mean? He's not really going to go away easily. So I like my chances with Kelleher at like a massive underdog price here. It may be our last chance to fade Cody Garbrandt at big prices. After this, if he loses this fight, Cody will not be minus 200 in spots again. Let me tell you that now. You know, he's not going to be that. And by the way, it was at minus 250 at one point, I believe, like minus 230. The money's come back in a little bit now, but yeah, I'm not going to give a massive technical breakdown. I think Cody's done. Trevin Jones' fight was bad. He was getting taken down in that fight. The last round, he was looking bad, gassed out, winded. Trevin Jones did nothing in the entire fight, and he still made it close at times. I mean, and he all got rocked in that fight as well. You know, you might not catch it to the naked eye, but if you go back and watch it, he didn't seem to react well to being hit a couple of times when he did get hit. When Kevin threw the free strike, when Trevin threw the 3 strikes that he did in the whole fight, Cody didn't react well to them. So I'll happily take a shot on the underdog here. It's very, Very easy bet for me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. On the same thing. Love it when we align, James. Great analysis. And I gotta ask you, is going boom on the chin, is that slang from your parts for,
Yeah, no, I mean that was
no, I
just
know, I
a
know. I was just messing around. I thought the terminology was like, could be risque if you catch my drift.
we say he gets cracked on the chin.
No, I meant more from like an innuendo type of deal.
Look at you, brother. You love your
Yeah.
innuendos, man.
Yes,
They
no.
go over my head, bro. I ain't even
I
in
would,
that. I ain't even in that mindset, bro. I don't even know what you're on about.
I would like to apologize. Okay, I'm gonna bring us. I'm gonna take the train off the rails.
Us Americans are dirty individuals.
Like, I've been hanging out with the guru too much. Is my problem.
That's true. Did we pull this up? This was really cool.
Yeah, generally, whenever you're talking and I pull something up, you never see it.
Yeah, well,
it's the truth. I pulled it up as always. So, but I don't want to interrupt you at the same time. So I'm hoping maybe you'll see it and say something, but you never do. So it's okay.
Got 2 words.
All right. So, anyways, yeah. All right. So our next fight, we got King Casey O'Neill versus the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski. Maybe that's why I had things on the mind, James. But Casey O'Neill minus 198, Ariane Lipski plus 164. I think the real question in this matchup is what is the UFC trying to accomplish here? I mean, I think they did one step a little too quickly, taking on Jennifer Maia in Casey O'Neill's last matchup, a top 5 opponent coming off of major ACL surgery, where she came off a split decision win against Roxanne Modafferi and is coming off a long layoff to take on Jennifer Maia. It's a tough matchup when you have 0 striking defense and each strikes with your face. However, what Casey O'Neill did prove is that she's willing to work through a little adversity and have a hell of a round 3. I mean, she just keeps coming forward. I got to give it to her. I mean, the volume's there, pressure's there, pace is there. And, I almost was thinking that Ariane Lipski would be a good idea here. So, Guru, can you explain to the people more about why you told me it might not be a good idea?
I mean, you mentioned a good chunk of it in terms of the recency bias of Casey O'Neill coming off a top 5 opponent, where she's coming off major ACL surgery.
Right. But we talked about that together. What was the thing? You did the part that got me to there, though. Like when you were watching the Gatto fight, right?
Oh, well, of course. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. So I didn't take any of that. How about you give me that?
I mean, maybe James, maybe you can tell me how you saw the Gatto fight, but I scored round 1 and 2 for Gatto, and I'm round 3 for Lipski. So by Guru's judging, you didn't win the fight, Miss Ariane Lipski.
Close fight. Yeah, I don't really remember specifically how I scored it. I just thought it was a very close fight.
I think in that respect it was, but I mean, Ariane Lipski, let's be honest, and I will be completely honest. I bet on Gatto expecting her to be able to get takedowns, and she didn't get any of her takedowns, but she outlanded her. Ariane Lipski is supposed to be the striker, and she's getting outlanded on the feet by the grappler in Melissa Gatto. Like completely outlanded and outpaced. It's bad. So, and then what? She beats Marshmallow JJ Aldridge, and now I'm supposed to be impressed? I'm just not. Sure, Casey O'Neill's striking defense still, leaves much to be desired. And yeah, honestly, her takedown entries are honestly a little sloppy and could use more variety. But I just think that pace on the feet, Casey O'Neill's going to tag her up. And I just think it's a problem for Lipski here. So I am not taking the dog, and I will be on the favorite comfortably.
Nice. Yeah, so we disagree on this one a little bit. I actually like Casey O'Neill in general. I know a lot of people don't like her and they dislike her. They say she's overrated and stuff like that. But I actually think that tenacity and that pace and that pressure, physicality, and just the willingness to put your game and put your stamp on the fight, which is in the wrestling and the grappling, will win her a lot of fights, and they have won her a lot of fights. I bet her as a minus 150 favorite against Shayna Dobson, which is a very, very funny line. If we look back at it, she's probably a massive minus 500 favorite. True line in that spot. But obviously it was a debut. People didn't know about her. And I actually have bet on her a couple of times. I did fade her in her last fight against Jennifer Maia. I just thought it was a bad stylistic matchup for her. And she was the same price as she is now, minus 200 against Maia. I just couldn't really understand why. And she's going off another layoff. We never know how fighters are going to come back from their first loss. Sometimes they come back good, remotivated. Sometimes their level has been shown and they kind of drop off after that. Pretty sure she's had surgery as well. Is that correct, boys? Can you confirm that one? I'm pretty sure she had ACL surgery, was it?
Yeah, so she
ACL?
did, and apparently back in for more surgery in August. I mean, quite frankly, whether it was the same knee or the opposite
Okay.
knee, whatever she had to go in for, that is alarming as anything.
Oh yeah, I didn't know
I
that.
did not have that in my scouting here. I'm open to the conversation.
Yeah, the open to the conversation is right. I'm gonna look that up on her IG.
All right,
Yeah,
James,
so
keep going. My bad.
so she's definitely coming back from the one surgery, and then potentially another's just been mentioned here, which is obviously not good, especially with her style. It's very how can I say? It's very pace based. It's very. I mean, if your ACL goes, it's not a great style to have, right? Because you're just constantly
Yeah,
running
yeah.
forward and just consistently trying to wrestle. And Lipsky has shown clear improvements in her takedown defense. And I just feel like if this fight's on the feet, it will look similar to the Maya fight. Not the exact same because Lipsky is not Maya, but I do think Lipsky hits hard. I think she's accurate. And I think Casey O'Neill, she can get cracked on the feet, man. I mean, Casey O'Neill has a magnet on her chin, kind of. I mean, if she don't get you down, she's kind of just getting punched in the face, Even Roxanne Modafferi was she was tagging her a little bit, and Roxanne ain't really any type of striker, especially at like 70 or however old she was when they fought. So I think Lipsky's got an advantage on the feet here, and I think she could potentially defend takedowns. So it's another one where I think it's dog or pass, boys. I mean, I'm saying that
You're right.
as a running theme throughout the
Yeah.
entire fight card, that dog or pass, in my opinion, for this one.
Very
Yeah.
interesting is that, and I think this is the key. And it is, yeah, August surgery, no specifics. And here's the truth of that. There's no post that I see, but the one thing that I do remember now, and it's the post is still up. 7 weeks until Sydney, she had posted in July. She was supposed to fight in Sydney, Australia, pulled out of that fight.
Okay.
Probably got
Damn
surgery.
it. All right. I circled all the way back. I would like to thank James and the chat for bringing more to our attention. I started off on the dog or pass side. I came
That's
around
kinda
to the
how I started
pass.
too.
I came around to the pass and pick on the O'Neal. But
I think I'm a full flip again.
as we dig deeper, man, there's too many details there. And this is why we bring on the best guests.
Because the truth is, and when I'm watching Casey O'Neill tape, it's exactly what I said. The takedown entries are sloppy. So if it's even on the feet here, she's getting pieced up, or she's not landing more impactful strikes, which was the exact problem versus Maya. What if she can't get the takedowns against this brick wall in Ariane Lipsky, apparently? Then she's looking worse on the feet like she did versus Maya and not getting takedowns like she didn't versus Maya. So it's basically the same fight again in that respect. So I think to James's point, it's certainly much closer than minus 200 with a new surgery aspect. I thought she was healthy. I forgot that she had pulled out of that fight.
Damn.
So good, very, very good point.
Yeah, it's not a hard fight to break down in terms, like, there's intangibles with the surgery, but at the end of the day, like, if you think she's going to get takedowns, then you can bet on her. But if you don't think she's going to get takedowns, you can't lay minus 200 in the striking fight. She's probably going to look like the underdog, if not pick 'em. So it's kind of easy in that regard. Just go back and watch the transitions, watch the takedowns, decide whether you think she's going to get the fight to the ground or not. Really.
Well, I did decide that I wasn't betting minus 200 Casey O'Neill no matter what. I think the toughest part I'm having right now is like when I go to Tapology before the fight start, like who am I picking as my official pick? And then am I sprinkling a dog shot? Am I laying a prop? And I was kind of getting away from the whole idea of Ariane Lipsky altogether. But damn, those stylistic points you bring up, I mean,
just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
That's it. Amen. We're moving on. Great breakdowns. Atomic Alonzo Menafield, the Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby, a light heavyweight banger. Both guys that you would think maybe are closer to 30 years old. Alonzo Menafield's 36 and Dustin Jacoby's 35. Kind of shocked given that they haven't been in the UFC. Well, I guess Jacoby's on his second run, right?
And Jacoby's had a glory kickboxing career as well.
Yeah, that's fair. But either way, I mean, you feel like they're on this fresh UFC run, and these guys are
They're not.
actually more towards the end than they are the beginning. Just that's one
Yeah.
note. Jacoby, 4 inches taller, going to be 1 year younger. No reach advantage. I think what's interesting in this matchup is, we've seen both guys get hurt in matchups. I think Alonzo Menafield has a pretty solid defensive wrestling game. I don't think he really's put it all together offensively in that perspective. And because of that, the pick is Dustin Jacoby. I think Jacoby's going to be able to stay safe for the most part. I think his cardio is going to be better than Menafield's. And I think his offensive wrestling actually is like not that bad, but more so his get-up game and defensive wrestling have improved since his initial run. And if they didn't, Iwan Kudelaba finishes him in round 2 or in round 1. But got to give it to Jacoby, man. I didn't like him in the Max Christian matchup, but against a guy who cheated and missed weight, Jacoby actually did well to kind of fight his own fight for the majority of it. So I got to take Jacoby here, but minus 265. I'm not looking to parlay it. What I do want is the Dustin Jacoby plus over 1.5 or Dustin Jacoby round 3 decision. It's just the last couple times I did that, he knocks out Kennedy and Zechiku in round 1 and Daun Jung in round 1. So he does have some power, and Menafield has gotten cracked before. It's just that took a while against OSP. So I'm going to take the chance again. That generally has cashed out. So Dustin Jacoby and over 1.5 is the play.
Yeah, but like he got knocked out by OSP. They named a choke after him. He's not really like a knockout guy. Sure, he hits hard because he was a light heavyweight, but that's not great.
Can't go against Coach Pat.
Honestly, Pat Barry in the corner of Alonzo Menafield, very, very interesting in that respect. Yeah, I think unless Alonzo Menafield is going to start wrestling, I just don't really, and then ground and pounding, I just don't really like it at all. He's got to catch him on the feet, and Dustin Jacoby has really fought, a ton of people at the light heavyweight division. I mean, he hasn't fought the best of the best, but I mean, he's fought. I mean, I thought he beat Khalil Roundtree. I mean, he's fought a ton of different people. I mean, Ian Kudelaba, Maxim Grishin, Daun Jung. He's fought a ton of different people. So Alonzo Menafield has really fought, kind of nobody. Jimmy Crute with his foot out the door, ready to retire. Misha Serkinov, terrible, suspended for using steroids in PFL. Askar Morozov probably, wins the Fraudulency of the Year award of 2022. William Knight, doesn't even show up to fight. So Fabio Charant, my boy, but terrible. So he hasn't beat anybody. It's not good. And I think this is a levels fight. And unless you catch Dustin Jacoby, you're not going to win. And I think Dustin Jacoby's shown a fair amount of durability. His one loss is from ground and pound from the legend in his own right, King Mo. And that was 10 years ago. So don't think it's coming here.
Yeah, I am having a hard time seeing any value on this fight because I do kind of think Jacoby can probably just stay at range. But I've also got a weird feeling that he gets cracked hard in round 1. Alonso's very athletic. Jacoby can sometimes... He's a very good... It's weird. Jacoby's weird. He's a really good striker, technically. And he is even good with range, but sometimes he can get cracked. I remember in the Grisham fight, he got cracked a little bit. Khalil fight, he was getting a little bit cracked. There's just something that I just can't get behind. And I think it's -2 whatever on Dustin Jacoby. It's just not appealing at all. And then you kind of feel like if Alonso don't get it done early, is he really going to have the gas to win the fight? I mean, he could potentially take him down. He's very, very strong. And Jacoby, he's got good takedown defense, but he's a striker.
Drains.
Yeah, exactly. He's a striker at the end of the day. Guys, I don't really want to bore you with my random thoughts about this because I don't really know what I think about this myself.
Yeah. I like fight doesn't go the distance. I like violence. I want violence here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You would think so. I'm surprised by the price. So what is the under then?
The under, I guess, is 1.5 at plus 154. I would just go fight doesn't go the distance. I don't want to cut it at
that's what
7.5
I mean.
minutes.
Sorry.
So I'm sorry. Let me see if I can pull that up.
I don't have it on DraftKings yet.
I'm gonna have it on Bet365. Give me a moment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not the worst because it's not the worst.
I get Zoe's more dangerous, but I think
plus 115.
Okay.
I'm taking
bro, that ain't bad, you know. That's not a bad way to hit it.
Yeah. Just the fight doesn't go. That's nice.
Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, I had it the wrong way.
Oh, nice.
Stupid.
Real nice.
I fucked up. Damn it, James. I apologize.
It's gonna be minus. It's gonna be minus.
It's gonna be minus 130, isn't it?
Minus 150. So
nice, real nice. Okay. I just think Zoe is way more dangerous. Yeah, but do you think Alonzo is more dangerous than Khalil Roundtree, who couldn't knock out Dustin Jacoby? I don't know.
I get so excited.
Yeah, I don't mind. If anything, I'll probably play violence, but I don't think I'll lay juice on it.
Fair enough. So we got Tagir Ulanbekov. I was gonna put unfavorable nicknames in. We'll skip that. Versus Cody Tyler Durden. That's a legit good nickname.
I watched that film the other day. Crazy film, that one, isn't it? Fight.
Can't talk about it.
Yeah, number one rule, right? But yeah, I thought that was. I mean, come on, it fits out perfectly. But that's probably the best TB nickname I've ever done. So
Ed Norton, Brad Pitt.
Not bad, right? So flyweight matchup. We got same age, same height. Tagir's got a little more reach here, 3 inches. I would say Cody Durden probably has the striking advantage in this matchup. I was one of those Cody Durden haters for a little while, but I got to say, since he made the move to ATT, number 1, he's on all the right vitamins and minerals. Number 2, his cardio's gotten better and better. Number 3, I mean, his willingness to fight out of submission spots is better. But he still ends up there. So the question is Tagir going to submitulate Cody Durden, or is Cody going to go ahead, put the pace on and pull away here? I'm going to take the dog shot. I got in at a better number than plus 136, so I'm happy about it, but I don't know. I feel like you told me what you got to do if you're playing this fight. I got to shut the door. The dog just made his way back in. I'll see you in a sec.
I mean, I think if you like Tagir, you've got to play him by submission. And if you want to get even a little bit cheekier, you do the round 1 submission or the round 1, round 2 submission. Because I think if he gets the sub, it's got to happen early when they're a little bit less slick. Cody Durden has been subbed 3 times, as you see. And all 3 submissions were in round 1. So I certainly think it would happen in that way. But I kind of agree with TB. I'm on a dog shot here. And I just felt that if you're not submitting Tim Elliott, who's been submitted 8 times, and that fight was way closer than anybody needed it to be. I don't know that you're submitting Cody Durden here. Cody Durden has shown improvements in each and every fight, and Tagir Ulanbekov has not been active. Was supposed to fight Jake Hadley and had a fight canceled, tapped our boy Nate Maness, but Nate decided to go for broke in that fight and made a mistake. So I don't really give much credence to it, the sub. So I'm certainly not playing the favorite here. That's for dang sure. But James, what do you think? I'm really curious because this fight's one of those low-key bangers where somebody might even get a bonus if they play their cards right.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a good fight. And I'm actually just going to sit back and enjoy it, my man, because I don't really have a strong opinion, just like I didn't on Alonzo Menefield and Jacoby. And I like to go in depth on fights where I believe in depth things should be said. But then I also like to just kick back and let other people take it away if I don't have any strong opinions. So I ain't going to bore you with random thoughts I have in this fight because I don't think that I have a strong read enough to do that. I will just give my overall opinion. And that, firstly, is that I just can't call a Cody Durden fight to save my life. So oftentimes we have these fighters that we're really good at calling their fights.
Yeah.
Like I was very good at calling Beneil Dariush fights for a while. I think I'm like 6-1 on his fights. But then some fighters you just can't call at all. You just can't read their style.
Yeah.
When you bet on them, they They lose. When you bet against them, they win. And that's Cody Durden to me. So I bet on Cody Durden in his debut, right? No one knew this motherfucker. Plus 200 against Chris Gutierrez. Plus 250. Plus 250, right? And it was a draw. So, I mean, you bet on a plus 250 and he gets a draw. It's not a bad shot, I guess, but didn't win any money on that, right? Got my money back. And then I bet on him in his next fight as an underdog, again, against Jimmy Flick, right?
Yeah.
So, true line for that fight was Cody Durden minus 900 or something.
Yeah, he'd smash him.
I bet on him at plus 130.
Right.
And he gets submitted in the first round, right?
Right.
I also bet on him inside the distance at plus 275, which is crazy. And then what happens? I get fucked by the first round flying triangle, which is just ridiculous. And so then I'm like, all right, fuck this guy. I'm betting against him. So then I put 4 units on Charles Johnson. And we all know how that goes. Every Charles Johnson fight ever. And then I also was like, all right, final time I'm going to bet against this guy. So right now I'm basically 0-3 or 0-2-1. And then I bet on Jake Hadley against him and Jake Hadley via submission. The guy basically submits him, but somehow he survives and I lose my money again. So, mate, at this point in time, yeah, I'm just like, let me just let Cody Durden do his thing. I obviously can't read his style. I don't know what he's going to do. He's probably going to win when I think he's going to lose and vice versa. So, overall, I think I'm going to pick Ulanbekov, but I think it's a very close fight.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because I just believe that he can probably get. I don't know, man. I just think he's going to edge it. I do actually like Ulanbekov. I think he's got a very good style. I actually think that he's probably going to have some type of striking advantage. I think that he can judge range a little bit better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think that Durden will be able to wrestle him that much. I think Durden's going to try and wrestle, and I think he'll be able to reverse positions and land a few calf kicks and win with the boxing. But it's a very close fight. I'm just going to leave it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just that Tim Elliott fight really sticks out in my mind. I mean, Tim Elliott's like out scrambling him a little bit there. It's very, very interesting to say the least. But you know, Tim Elliott's a dog, so we'll see.
Big bad dog.
I am the dog.
All right,
Hey, we're getting through this card. 3 fights left, man. 3, just 3.
We're rocking and rolling. Can we cut it under the 2-hour mark? Let's see. Andre Touchy-Feely minus 180. Lucas 0 BJJ Almeida. We saw Neto BJJ a few weeks ago. This week we have 0 BJJ. The 33-year-old Feely going to be 1 year older.
That is not his nickname.
Same height. Feely has a 4-inch reach advantage. That's definitely not his actual nickname, but I had to do my thing. But yeah, honestly, I mean, if this fight stays on the feed and Andre Touchy-Feely doesn't test that 0 BJJ, he's in trouble. And minus 180 makes me want to throw up and call my mom. So I'm going to go ahead and I can't control I don't have a controller to tell Andre Feely to shoot takedowns 15 times in a row in this fight. So I'm going to take a step back and say Almeida could actually be the 4th guy to knock him out. That would totally be possible. Yeah, so that's kind of where I stand. I can't, I might end up picking Feely, but for the love of God, if you see me with a bet on Andre Feely, you have permission to come to my house and throw oranges at me like Uncle Weezy. So, Guru, I might have to bet like Almeida KO just because, potential value, blah, blah, blah. Feely's been touched and fielded many times. What do you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, we know the fact that Andre Feely's no stranger to losing a fight he should win. Man, I think at the same time we're kind of giving him a little bit of shit. Getting knocked out by Joe Anderson Brito, that sucks, but the dude is kind of a tank. Losing to Sadiq Youssef, losing to Nathaniel Wood. I mean, these guys just outwork him, outgrind him. That's really, really tough. Losing to Michael Johnson is an interesting one for sure, especially since Michael Johnson's a lightweight, so that's a tough fight for him as well. Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez. Yeah, I just don't think that Lucas Almeida fits in that category. If I'm doing one of those PRP things, right, Feely's like somewhere in the middle in terms of a confidence level, but I can't get highly invested here because he's proved to be relatively untrustworthy, and Almeida could be his kryptonite in terms of 9 KO, 9 KO finishes of his.
If I go crazy, then will
14
you
wins.
still call me Superman?
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Kryptonite.
What about a finish? Could Feely get the finish? How about just fight doesn't go the distance? A little violence. What do we think? What do you think, James? Anything?
Yeah, I do think that the finish is probably going to come because, as we know, my man's got 0 BJJ, and Feely will definitely take the back. Will definitely take you down. And if he's smart, he's going to push the wrestling here. But I don't know if he's going to be smart, boys. That's the issue in this fight, isn't it? And if he doesn't be smart, if he isn't smart, then I think he might get cracked because Lucas Almeida hits hard. He's very durable. He's got good cardio, and he ain't gonna. Unless you're taking him down, he ain't just gonna quit, right? He can take punches, but you can submit him like Pat Sabatini did. It seems like. So I think that we actually see Feely get knocked out in this fight. That's my prediction. From what I've seen of Feely, he gets hit too hard. His defense isn't hard to breach. He got knocked out by Yair Rodriguez back in the day. I remember that one. He's been knocked down by Miles Jury. He's been knocked down by Charles Jourdain in another fight, which is similar in that he should have really just stuck to the wrestling in that fight. I think I bet on him at like minus 140 or something. And I remember screaming at my TV, take the guy down. This is like the easiest path to victory you've ever had in your life.
Right.
And then he just wants to stand with him. He gets dropped bad. He ends up winning the fight by split decision, but he could have won the fight by submission if he would have just took him down, and he just refused to do it for a lot of the fight. So he's no stranger to not fighting optimally. He got starched by Brito, which could happen in this fight. We got another strong Brazilian. And Nathaniel Wood knocked him down, and I thought he was going to finish him, right? So the guy gets knocked down. He gets hurt a lot. He gets finished every so often. And he doesn't fight optimally every now and then either. So I think when you put all of that into a pot, I think Almeida's probably going to breach the defense here. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, I'm happy to say that there's value on Almeida at plus 150 here. That's what I'm trying to say. Because this is a betting show, right? I don't really give a shit who's going to win, boys, really. I don't really care. I just care about where there is value on the line. And I'm confident to say there's value on Almeida, I think. Anyway, maybe not that confident, but I think there is at plus 150. But I don't know who's going to win the fight. I don't really care about that one.
Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance Feely never shoots a takedown, and we got a solid matchup here. So I like it, James. I like it. There is value. I agree with you. We're moving on. We got Martin Bodies Budai versus Big Meal Shamil Gaziev. That is probably actually the best nickname I've ever come up with.
That might be the best name you've ever come up with.
Bro, look at that picture compared to like his Tapology picture. It's like what you ordered on Amazon Prime versus what you ordered on Wish. What you got, what you expected versus what you got. But what we got was Shamil Gaziev giving up his back 30 seconds into the Greg Velasco fight on Dana White's Contender Series. The funniest part of that fight is that Greg Velasco was so short and stubby that he couldn't wrap his legs around the big fat belly of Big Meal Shamil. Bro, he was trying for the body triangle, and he just like his shin is like on his fucking belly button.
So funny.
It's terrible. Like, Greg, you got to read the room, buddy. You like don't just put your hooks in. Don't go for the Shamil turns out, starts raining down ground and pound, and like Greg is like, listen, I should be cutting down to middleweight, but instead I'm gonna just get tapped out.
Doesn't fight the hands at all. Easiest.
No. Not honestly though, not because he literally almost died in the first minute and a half.
After rocking him,
oh my god, yes,
he rocks him in 5 seconds and then gives up his back 25 seconds later. How, Sway?
Okay,
how do you let that happen?
This is Bogdan Guskov all over, like all over again, written all over it. It's the guy with the ev or an ov at the end of his name, making his debut as a small underdog, and I think it's too cute of a pick. He might have round one finishing capability, but who have we seen ever finish Martin Budai round one? Also, Shamil Big Meal is fighting guys that like Darko Stosic literally fought at 205 in his UFC career, and that's who he fights in his fight before the UFC is Darko Stosic after he gets cut by the UFC at heavyweight. Big Meal, what are you doing, bro? Then Greg Velasco, that dude is like 5'10" at heavyweight. What are we doing, big meal?
I love
now,
it.
He's fighting someone his own size in Martin Buday at 6'4". And Martin Buday has shown me 3-round cardio. Big Meal Shamil showed me he couldn't even control his breath after a 3-minute fight against Greg Velasco. He couldn't even interview. The dude couldn't talk.
He literally needed to stop interviewing and go get himself a Big Mac and fries mid-interview because he could not breathe.
All right. We've done enough Big Meal slander. James,
God.
can you tell if there's any value on the underdog in this sloppy heavyweight matchup, or if we're onto the right?
Let me bring it home, fellas. Let me show some respect for Big Meal right here, because the guy is 11-0, right? Undefeated, never been beaten. You know what I mean? He's never been beaten. So
and who do you fight?
He's got something to him, right? Even in his amateur career, he did quite well.
No. You're right.
I think he was defeated in his amateur career, but I think he still had a good record, like 10-1, 10-2 or something. I can't remember. Yes, he hasn't been fighting a good level of competition, but he's also won decisions. All right. I think one decision he won. So we have to also, split. I know. Yeah, he won a decision. I know he hasn't got good cardio. He looked terrible after that. Like the meme is when, like you said, like he goes to the interview and he's tired and stuff, but he has been in the third round before. He has won late into fights before. He won in the second round.
The only time he's been in the third was the decision.
Yeah. And I think that he has some finishing upside, some serious finishing upside in his fight.
That's fair.
I think he cracks very, very hard. I think that Buday gets hit a lot. If we go look at Buday's career, I bet on him in his last fight against Jake Collier, or the fight before that. And I actually thought that he would make it a little bit easier than he did. It was a very close fight. He was getting cracked in that first round. Jake Collier couldn't miss him. Yeah. So he was taking a lot of shots on the chin there. Lucas Bresky hurt him, wobbled him, hit him with some heavy shots. Should have lost that fight. So, I know he looks shiny and pretty with no losses in the UFC, but should really have won against one of the worst heavyweights on the roster at Lucas Bresky. We saw Martin Buday's level is Jake Collier, who, again, is one of the worst heavyweights on the roster. We know that he's his level because it was a 50-50 fight, and that's someone with a bet on Martin Buday. So I don't think Martin Buday is anything special. I don't think he's very good, but he does have a good record in the UFC. Chris Barnett fight, he was getting touched up a little bit, even early on. So I do think there's definitely a chance that Gaziev catches him on the chin and just drops him, man, early on. I think there's a good chance that he hurts him early on. Yeah. I think there's a good chance that he wins the round one easy by hurting him. And then, you got two guys that are going to heavily gas out going into round 2 and round 3. I definitely favor Buday as the fight goes on, just from what I've seen, but I don't favor him massively heavily. I also think that Gaziev can make it close. I think they're both going to be sloppy and tired. And yeah, man, I think the line should be flipped. I honestly do. So I'm not confident that one guy's going to win. I think this fight's very close, but I wouldn't say that Martin Buday has shown me anything to be a -160 favorite. I think the line's coming in now. But
it has come in. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm part of the reason for that, because I bet on Shamil Gaziev at about +150. Yeah. And so at that point, I was fading Martin Buday at -190. And I just don't really see I don't really see anything from Buday that tells me he should be -190 there. So, So yeah, maybe the line's getting a little bit more accurate now. Would I go in at +120 versus +150 when I think the fight is fairly 50-50? I'd make Gaziev a -120 favorite. I would make him. So, there is still some line value there. But who knows, man? Two shitty heavyweights, so we'll see.
Yeah. That round one bonkage for Gaziev, because again, 11 wins for Gaziev, 8 by round 1 finish. So just take him in round 1.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. If I do and somehow end up with money on Martin Buday money line, or like Martin Buday and like over 1.5, then I need the big meal lunch ticket for round 1 finish.
You gotta hedge out.
What is that? Is that a good price as an underdog? Hopefully,
I don't have it at all on DraftKings. I don't use offshore, so
I'm gonna check Bet365 here. Yeah.
Ooh,
Let's see.
they have it, do they?
Yeah.
I might start putting Bet365 lines instead of DraftKings. I kind of like them better.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely should. But I mean, the problem is that Bet365 is really like limited to where they are.
That's fair.
I can see on Bet Online, Gaziev round 1 is plus 400.
Plus 450 here on Bet365.
That would be worth it.
KO round 1, 575. Yeah, if you want to go insane.
KO round 1 plus 650.
Gaziev round 1 submission plus 2,000. We're going crazy now, boys. I can one up you.
1,600. You beat me there.
Fair enough. He gets the value there. We're talking grandma's couch cushions. I love it. If you're a true part of the Chronic Combat family, you know exactly.
Do you like it?
I love it. I want some more. We're on to our last fight. We got, come on, Rude Boy.
Last one of the year.
Wow.
Last one of the year.
First one of the last card, but the last breakdown of the year. Wow.
Wow.
Randy Rude Boy Brown, welterweight matchup against the king of Kung Fu, Muslim Salikov. My God, we got minus 270 Randy Brown. It's like, is the line actually just like accurate here? It's gross. It's disgusting. Like, Muslim Salikov to me, against fighters that don't have the height, reach, speed, volume, potential wrestling advantage.
His topology photo was taken before you could take photos with color. It's in black and white. That's how old he is.
He's definitely actually 50 years old, not 39. But I really like Muslim Salikov, like when he's fighting, like, quote unquote, like his age class, or guys that are like Andre Fialho, who are like literally 1-2 combos until that
Lorena Staropoli.
Yeah, so like these guys, like, yes, Muslim, the king of Kung Fu all day. I think that the luster of the star of Mr. Salikov has worn off of the UFC, and they're bringing him in here to kick off this pay-per-view matchup to give Randy Brown a nice little propping up after the Jack Della Maddalena disaster. And after what, Randy Brown came back in his next matchup after that, and has
Wellington Turdman. He couldn't finish Wellington Turdman. It was really, really bad. He's not finishing him here. I don't know how the fuck I can get over 2.5 minus 140. Fight goes the distance is what? Pick him.
Give it to me.
Gimme.
Yeah, I don't even want the money line. Just give me that.
I'll be cheering for 15 minutes of fights and no commercials to start the day. Love it.
Nice. James, are you in agreement here with the boys?
Yeah, it's a horrible fight in terms of the betting line. I agree completely. But yes, I do think Randy Brown's going to win. I don't mind the under. If the under's sitting at plus 110, like I can see it right there, I don't mind it because I think Salikov, he's still got power in his hands.
Right.
Yeah.
As we know, it's the last thing to go. So he still can crack even at the age of 50, like you said. I still think he can find that chin. Randy Brown's been dropped a couple of times, been hurt a few times, been put in weird positions. Many times I remember Chaos dropped him. I remember Jack dropped him before he submitted him. I remember Wally Alves almost submitted him. Like, the guy's not, he's a bit susceptible to being hurt, cracked, wobbled. He's a little bit, you don't trust him at minus 270. I'll say that. And then on the other hand, Salikov at this point in time, I know he's been durable in the past. I know he's been hard to hit in the past, but he's been finished a couple times. And I think that he could get finished again. So I don't mind the under. And I'm always trying to extract value, so I can go in depth on about who I think is going to win, why Randy Brown's front kicks are going to be good or whatever. But I mean, I don't really care. I just really care about winning money. And the front kick's not going to tell me that. It's really about money. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, if anything, I'll look for the under 2.5. I don't know if I'll get there. I'll pick Randy Brown to get a finishing sequence. I don't know if it'll be submission or TKO. I actually wouldn't mind Randy Brown's submission because I feel like it's going to. Yeah, I feel like it'll be a decent price. I feel like it might be better than the TKO.
Guru, we got a line
right now. Randy Brown submission is plus 350. I was hoping for a little more juice on that.
KO is actually more. So actually, they're quite sharp here. So
yeah, they are sharp. What about like an over 1.5? Randy Brown over 1.5 is about minus 115.
If I like the under 2.5, I can't also like the over 1.5.
No,
like it's just unless it's a Peyton Talbot fight or something like that.
That's inherently makes sense.
So Randy Rude Boy Brown, he probably gets it done here. The submission I thought was sneaky. He has 6 KOs, 6 decisions, and 5 submissions. Why not round it out, Randy? Is the Rude Boy going to sub him up? Thank you so much, guys. Amazing show. Great card. Even better guest. Absolutely incredible times with all of you people. Season 3 of Chronic Combat coming to a close. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. You probably heard me say it a million times by now. So for the sake of time, James, any final words here before we pass it off to Guru to close out the show?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me on for your last show. As I said at the start, it's a big show, end of year show, and congratulations, because you've been going on for a long time. I've known you guys for a long time. This is not my first rodeo on the show. I've been on the show many times, always have a lot of fun. We always talk for a long time, which is good. I like speaking for a long time, so that's fine. And yeah, man, just congratulations. It's tough grinding day in and day out. And I miss more weeks than you. I mean, you guys go every single week. Have you missed a week this year? I feel like you've done every single card.
As a collaborative, we've never missed a card in the 3 years we've been doing our show. If one of us has had to miss, the others kept it rolling.
Yeah, I actually think that's I think that's a lie, TB. I think year 1 we skipped
Alexander Volkanovski.
Year one we missed 2 shows, I think.
Yeah, so the last 2 years you haven't missed a show. I mean, that's commendable.
That I can guarantee. The last 2 years we have not missed a show.
I haven't done that, right? I haven't been that good. I've tried to, but it's tough, man. So yeah, that's commendable, boys. Well done. If you keep on doing that, your efforts will pay off, and they already are, right? You're growing. You're getting better guests on. Not talking about myself. I just mean in general. You're getting fighters on and stuff like that. You know, I'm always tuning in when I can. So congratulations, boys. Hopefully we cash this weekend, because I'm very confident. Like I said, I'm pretty confident I'm going to make money this week. I don't want to keep saying it because it's like famous last words. But yeah, man, good luck to all of us. I don't know if we're all on any one fighter. I think are we all on Brian Kelleher?
Yes.
Which is okay, that's a crazy bet to have, because he's like one of the biggest underdogs on the card, but well, maybe not. But yeah, man, let's go boom. Not on the chin like you said, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, boys. Thanks for having me on anyway, and thanks to all the viewers. If there was no viewers, there's no show. So shout out to all the viewers, man. Hopefully we can make some money, boys.
Yeah, literally thank everybody so much. What a wonderful year, and thanks so much for being a gracious guest. Lucrative. It's James, always wonderful having you on. Truly, I promise we'll be reaching out to you a couple times in 2024 and beyond. Yes, really just appreciate everybody. We hit 500 subscribers this year. We got our first donation this year. It's just been it's been a wonderful just journey and trip learning. We look forward to improving our content. We look forward to improving our breakdowns and our gambling. We look forward to improving the show. So just cheers to ever growing, self-improvement and pushing each other to be better and fucking squishing these cockroach motherfucking bookies into the dirt, into dust. So we love that too. So without further ado, listen, the show would not be possible. I would not be able to not miss 2 years of shows without my unbelievable co-host, TB Scouting MMA. You can follow him on X. You can follow him on Verdict. You can follow him on Picket. You can follow him on Instagram, Tapology, wherever you want. Go follow him, subscribe. Me, the Guru Scouting MMA, X, Instagram, Picket, Verdict, Tapology, Bet MMA. Check us out everywhere. Make sure you're following Lucrative MMA on Instagram. Make sure you're following on Bet MMA as well. Go get those picks. And I also believe, James, if you want, you had a couple other X Twitter accounts that you were kind of promoting as well.
Yeah, so basically I've got 2 new accounts. Like, I've been meaning to grow my personal brand for a while. Obviously, you guys know me through the gambling. I've been gambling for many, many years, and it pays my bills. So, I've been meaning to show the other side of my life, though. I don't only gamble. I do many things in life. And so you can go and follow me on my personal brand. I'll be giving out lots of information about my life, but also tips and tricks on how to deal with life, how to make money outside of gambling, because I don't only make money from gambling. Just life advice, just that type of stuff to do with my personal life. I'm trying to be a little bit more transparent in that regard. So If you go to Gambler JB on Twitter, on Instagram, you can find me there. X, they call it now. And then the other betting account you're talking about is my free bets account. So I have an account now I'm giving out free bets on. So if you just it's a little bit of a weird handle. I need to change it because it only gives you like 15 characters or something. But I think it's lucrative bet tip. So if you just type that in, right, BETTIP, then that's my betting tips page. And I'm going to give out betting tips for actually not only MMA, but also other sports as well, because now my network has grown. So I work with many gamblers who do it professionally full-time in many different sports now. So I'm not only betting on MMA these days, I'm actually betting on many sports. And I do this from strictly following picks, you know. So I sell picks and people pay me for buying my picks, but I also go to other people and get their picks, right? So I'm a big proponent of, if you're not 100% dedicated to learning the craft yourself, just get it from someone else who is, because then it just saves more time in your life. And I do that myself with other picks. So now I'm giving out free tips for many sports on that page. So if anybody wants to join that page, you can do. Big things in 2024. And those are the 2 new pages I got, boys, man. So follow me on both of them, man. There's going to be a lot more in store next year.
Love it. Guys, thank you all so much. What a wonderful year. Please, if you're a fan this year, make sure you're a fan next year. We're going to keep rocking and rolling. We're going to kick it off with, who do we got? We got the rematch that everyone's been clamoring for. We got Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. The rematch. Going to be incredible. I believe we got family in the building. Uncle Weezy coming on. So make sure you tune in next month. We'll see if we got any other content coming out.
Done.